I would like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. The next regular Board of Education meeting is on Tuesday, February 27th at 7:30 in the board meeting room.
Is your mic on?
Not on. Thank you. All right, I'll call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. The next regular Board of Education meeting is on Tuesday, February 27th at 7:30 in the board meeting room. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. This has been a busy week. I hope everyone enjoyed our Mardi Gras snow day, and I thank you all for rescheduling for tonight. While we have a couple of items on the agenda, in my chair remarks, I'll mostly speak to tonight's Board of Education vote. To start, I wish to thank the members of the administration who have walked through this process with us: Rich Rudel, Marge Sion, Shirley Klein, Amy Fedigan, Alan Adley, and all of the other staff who have answered numerous questions and showed up to discuss with us. I'd also like to thank my fellow board members, Greg Grambling, Julie Best, David Brown, Katie Lublin, Dennis Maroney, John Cini, Robin Nelson, and Sarah Parent. Between all of us, we have 27 children who range in age from first grade to adults recently out of college. I myself have children in the elementary, middle, and high schools. The 9 of us share a passion for how children learn and how schools teach them. This budget process is part of our job, but it is also long and requires significant consideration from each of us. So I thank everyone for their time and attention. Following our budget vote tonight, the budget goes from the superintendent's proposed budget to the Board of Education recommended budget. This will be the budget we formally submit to the Board of Finance on March 5th. In early January, the superintendent's budget as presented to us was a 6.19% operating budgetary increase, or a budget of $121.5 million. As we know, this number is historically high. Our average operating increase over the past 10 years is 3.7%, ranging from a high of 5.32% in fiscal year 25 to a low of 2.08 in fiscal year 2018. This year's proposed budget increase is approximately 2/3 greater than the last 10 years' average. We are also aware of the significant expended and planned investment in school facilities, including $63 million appropriated for Oxbridge, $101 million appropriated for Hinley Homes and Royal, and future needs at several of our other buildings, particularly the middle school. While as individuals, we believe in the importance of education, and we understand the value this community places on its schools, we're also aware of the importance of investing wisely in town resources overall. With all of that in mind, we've focused on a thorough review of the budgetary items in our remit. We've continued to identify efficiencies where we can and to review the educational goals and impacts of the budgetary initiatives on the table. It has not been easy. Over the past 3 to 4 years, we've done a lot of work to remove any items that might provide us, like things like budget control, that might provide us a little flexibility. We're in a period of teacher and staff shortages, and we are expecting difficulty in the coming years because we're going to continue to have high budgets. Key drivers of this budget are salaries and benefits. 78% of the budget is that number, and it's over 4% of the increase. There are also health insurance and special education, which is driven by costs, new requirements, and intensity of student need. While it may be tempting to point to any given category and blame it for our budgetary increase, fact is that we're in an inflationary environment. Costs have come up. As a district, we strive for continuous improvement and continuous evaluation. There are always areas where we can improve. However, there are not necessarily easy answers. As we enter our final deliberations tonight, I will ask again that we as a board, and that anyone who may speak during the meeting, remember the important human component of this challenging process. I again caution everyone to consider the impact of commentary on the morale of our respected district employees, our students and families, and our overall community culture. We will plan to take another deep dive on our budget process when this is over, and we'll be looking not only within our board, but also at intra-board discussions vis-a-vis overall town fiscal and operational planning. In the meantime, for tonight, we've listened to members of the public and members of our fellow government bodies. It is now our job to make the best educational and financial decisions we can within the responsibilities of our role, which include but are not limited to following our own policies, staying out of operations, providing for the positions, schools, classifications, and divisions as may be necessary for the efficient administration of the school district, and aligning with our mission of preparing all students today to thrive in a changing world tomorrow. With that, I'll move to public comment. I'm not sure how much public commentary is planned for this evening, but we have heard quite a bit through this process. While we value hearing from each and every one of you, our decisions are not made by referendum, and we need time for important deliberation. So if someone has already said what you would like to say, please feel free to simply state your name and agree to a previous statement. That said, if you have additional context that would be helpful to the board, please offer it. Thank you very much.
Good evening. For public comment, you'll have up to 3 minutes to comment. Please state your name and address for the record, and please note the timer with the chair.
Thank you. My name is Katie Gale. I teach at Hindley, 5th grade, and I'm from Stanford. And I don't see the timer. Perfect. I'd like to thank the board for the diligent and difficult work you have been doing to ensure that our students will get what they need. And I also really want to thank the parents who have come out in support of teachers and students. Following these difficult years of conflicting messages, we deeply appreciate that support. I spoke to you a few weeks ago about the communities that exist in our schools, the communities that provide not only the academic and creative and physical education that your children need, but also the supportive environment that gives them a sense of belonging, because we know they need all of those things to thrive. Tonight, I want to tell you that your teachers can only do this if we feel valued, if we feel that we too belong. You have seen educators attending these meetings, so you know of our concerns, but you need to hear that we are all feeling less and less valued as professionals. The proposed cuts at the middle school in music and art, PE, teacher leaders, and paras will have a ripple effect on the rest of us. Indeed, they already have. Morale is low. Some of us will lose our positions. Others will be directly impacted as we take on more students that require more time when our days, and yes, nights and weekends, are already full. The rest will be seeing the fallout from higher student to teacher ratios. Less contact time for students increases their frustration, which reduces their confidence and erodes that important sense of belonging that we strive to provide. From there, it is a direct line to behavior issues that will impact all classroom environments, behaviors that are symptoms of student needs that are not being met, and will become even more challenging to meet with less contact time, less guidance, less connection. 70 teachers left Darien last year. These decisions to cut teachers and staff had the rest of us thinking. Will we too be asked to take on larger class sizes and caseloads at a time when you are already working at capacity with students who are struggling post-pandemic? Will our positions be eliminated? Are we valued here? Or do we just represent a certain number of cells on a scheduling spreadsheet? And now the word is out, the press does its job well. This renowned district that prides itself on an excellent K-12 education is cutting teachers. Recruitment and retention of teachers is already a challenge, and these cuts will undoubtedly intensify that challenge in a time when there's a teacher shortage. I hope you will all consider the human cost of these cuts, and not just for the coming year, but for the subsequent years and the ripple effect it will have. As a Darien career teacher who loves this community and has always felt that I belong here because I'm valued for my contribution, I can tell you that I need to feel that respect and sense of belonging too, to do this important work. And so do we all. Thank you.
Joanna Walsh, 17 Pleasant Street. I'm a co-chair of CDSP. When I arrived in this town nearly 10 years ago, my oldest child started as a first grader at Hindley. Back then, Rita Ferry was in charge, one of those old school principals who ran things her way in the same vein as someone like Mary Michaels. Mrs. Ferry started all her parent meetings standing up in the front of the multi-purpose room, microphone in hand, by saying, "The Hindley School is for children." She'd often repeat herself as well. The Hindley School is for children. And I think this is how we should view all our education in town. The Hindley School is for children. The home school is for children. The Royal School, the Oxford School, the Tokenique School is for children. Middlesex Middle School, Darien High School is for children. This budget is not for children. As members of the Board of Education, your constituents elected you to make sure that the needs of the children in this town are met. And you all know that this budget does not do that. You are nodding yourself up and down to find ways to whittle and bend these numbers to a place where you won't get a cut from the Board of Finance or the RTM. Yet that's not your mandate. Your mandate from this town is to be the stewards of our children's education. It is the responsibility of other town governing bodies to prove that Darien can't afford it. When it comes to these deliberations, every one of you has shown you are being fiscally responsible. You are not piling on extraneous programs that are nice to haves. You already know that teachers, instructional aides, department chairs, campus monitors are not nice to haves. At this point, administration is saying, trust us, we'll be able to figure it out. We are at the end of the Board of Education's time with the superintendent's budget. Shouldn't it all be figured out already? There's no actual plan at the middle school, just 3 team model possibilities. There's no actual plan at elementary schools, just a promise of overages if it turns out there aren't actually enough specialist teachers to cover every section. Every significant change in this budget has been presented to the board as a trust exercise, yet administration is not even utilizing the tools it already has. For instance, extending the responsibilities of department chairs to alleviate AP workload or requiring MMS teachers with 4 sections to already teach SRBI. No parent in this town has told us or their PTO chairs that they think these cuts are a great idea. No one has said this stinks, but I understand why it needs to happen. What they have done is come before you, along with teachers, and describe what is happening with our students in all grade levels. Students are in varying degrees of emotional, mental, and academic crisis. Cutting any student-facing adults makes no logical sense. This seems like a particularly difficult budget season, but I can make it easier for you. Darien Public Schools are for children. Please vote with one thing in mind, students. Reject this budget and restore what we have.
Pardon? Crystal Hill, 300 Brookside Road, also a co-chair of CDSP. Tonight, I'm speaking to you on behalf of the CDSP Special Ed Committee. We wanted to again make clear our deep concerns with proposed changes in central office SES administration structure. While we understand Ms. Klein's stated reasons for changing the structure, we disagree. One of the themes, much to our chagrin, of this budget season's discussions is that special ed costs so much. We worry this narrative puts special ed versus gen ed against each other, but rhetoric aside, special education is growing exponentially. The SES AP positions at the elementary level are important and necessary, but they are still new. Only Hindley and Holmes have had the same SES AP all through 3 years since this position was created. The other 3 schools have new SES APs this year. They are in the 4th month of their job. Why would we take away the position that is responsible for their job training? Consistency across all 5 schools and implementation of specialized learning is something Darien insists on. But how will that be guaranteed without one person making sure everyone is doing what they are supposed to be doing? Right now, for several months, have been speaking to the Special Ed Committee has been telling administration that there needs to be consistency among the language that goes out about parents' invites to PPTs, that they need to be told that they have an in-person option. It's not consistent across the schools. That still has not been done, and that's just a change to an email. The creation of a K-12 director makes sense on paper, but not in reality. Before we move on to making sure there's consistency from grade to grade, K-12, we should make sure there is airtight consistency from kindergarten to 5th grade through all 5 buildings. An overall director position will not have the bandwidth to drill down on just elementary. It simply would take too much time.
Good evening. My name is Brenda McGee, and I work at Darien High School. I'm an art teacher, and I live in Norwalk. I'm here tonight to speak about the 0.8 FTE for the art educator and our department leadership. Many members have asked for a sample schedule that proves all the special FTE cuts are possible. However, to my knowledge, we have yet to see one. We did some basic calculations, and we do not see how it's possible to cover all 5 elementary schools with 4 teachers. Oxbridge is at capacity. That means that we have 3 teachers left to cover the remaining 4 schools. First, we added the number of sections of art totaling 1,740 minutes of instruction for K through 5 students. There are a minimum of 111 sections per 6-day rotation to cover. If you divide that between 3 teachers, you will get 37 sections. 37 sections would violate the teacher contract. Teachers have 36 available slots. They need a duty-free lunch and a prep. You simply will not have enough FTE to cover the program with the proposed cut. Additionally, this proposed cut will impact a department that continues to engage and challenge students from elementary through high school. We have all viewed the table with the art and music enrollment several meetings ago. Visual art enrollment numbers are strong. We are a community of artists, students, and educators who support each other. These seeds of growth are planted by art educators from the elementary schools through the high school. We are fortunate to have a department coordinator who provides expertise, guidance, and a space to share ideas and push ourselves to be better educators and better artists. Please keep this strong community intact and vote to keep our elementary 0.8 FTE and our art leadership. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tony Ann Rongo. I live at 57 Camp Ave in Darien. I'm the mom of a 4th grader at Oxbridge and a 6th grader at MMS. I am also a 3rd grade teacher at Oxbridge School. This is my 22nd year as an educator for the Darien Public Schools. I've been a grade level leader for the past 12 years, working closely with our district curriculum coordinators throughout the years to pilot various programs, learn about and turnkey new curriculum to our building staff, and streamline our curriculum initiatives to help build consistencies among the 5 elementary schools. The elementary curriculum coordinator is the direct connection and bridge between teachers and administrators to have our voices and perspectives heard. Cutting the elementary curriculum coordinator cuts the one teacher voice in the room when administration is making decisions about how and what we should teach. The coordinator is the one person that is most closely connected to what occurs in our classrooms on a regular basis. They support all 6 grade levels across all 5 schools to ensure we are consistent with content and practices. They meet with grade level leaders on a regular basis to discuss new curriculum, get feedback on current practices and programs. They support individual teams during our PLC times and work with individual teachers to support their learning and growth throughout the year. Curriculum development is fluid and ongoing. It requires a tremendous amount of time to meet with staff, be in classrooms with our students to see how the curriculum and programs play out in real time in order to make thoughtful decisions. It is a massive lift with incredible amounts of work infused into one job title. Breaking this position into 5 stipend positions is not going to sufficiently replace the work that the elementary curriculum coordinator is tasked with completing. The teachers who may be in those stipend positions will not be able to be in the room to share the voice of the teachers when administrators meet. They will be in their classrooms, teaching their students. We will not only lose voice in curricular processes, but we will be asking 5 teachers to spread themselves too thin in order to cover an entire building's worth of curriculum coordination and responsibilities. It is simply not possible to do this in a way that is efficient, effective, and in the best interest of our students. Thank you for your time, listening to all of our voices, and for your consideration during this process.
Hi, I'm Jen Fisher. I'm the Darien Education Association Vice President, and I live in Danbury. I'd like to start off by thanking the board for their engagement in the discussions surrounding this year's proposed budget. The job that you are tasked with is not an easy one, and on behalf of your teachers, we do appreciate your willingness to listen to our perspectives and your desire to hear more about our daily endeavors on behalf of our students. We want what's best for our kids. We hope the board and the administration understands our advocacy is to try to protect what is best for our kids. Having more itinerant art, music, and phys ed teachers is not what's best for our kids. When a teacher is dedicated to one building, they are by nature more available to students, not just in the areas of their expertise, but they are available for the social and emotional support and development of their students. For many kids, going to specials is the highlight of their day. It's their opportunity to create, explore, and innovate in more diverse and dynamic ways than in the traditional academic setting. Many students seek out their specials teachers with excitement to share about the goings-on in their lives, who won the Super Bowl, their successes and challenges, or to talk more deeply about what they're learning. The positive impact on student mental health is significant when they have more teachers who are available, invested, and who know them well. Cutting one art teacher will impact students in every elementary school. It cuts time for teachers to proudly display the work of their students around the school. It also cuts their opportunities to design instruction that incorporate more detailed projects because teachers will not have the time or the space to prepare. Cutting a physical education teacher cuts opportunities for enrichment and engagement in the daily lives of our students. Outside of gym class, you will often find our phys ed teachers at recess to help introduce a new game or to teach sportsmanship and teamwork. With less teachers and less availability, these opportunities become scarce. Cutting music teachers undermines opportunities for our fledgling musicians to participate in enriching opportunities like the Young Composers Program. Music teachers are not just teaching the classes on their schedules. Additionally, they are providing help, guidance, extra lessons, and other opportunities. Cutting teachers devalues the work that they do outside of their class schedules to support and enrich young students and to cultivate a love of creating music. We are asking you to please add back in enhanced opportunities for creative expression via the arts. Add back in the ability for our specials teachers to build long-lasting, meaningful relationships with their students. Add back in the ability to faithfully fulfill the strategic plan. Add back what makes Darien the best in education that you can find. Do not erode what makes us special. Build the district back up and prioritize what's best for our kids. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Barry Palmer, Danbury. I'm the Teachers Union President. I want to thank the board for all of your efforts as volunteers serving our students in our community. This has been a grueling budget season. It's truly a labor of love, I'm sure. Tonight is an opportunity for the board to demonstrate that you've heard what so many parents, students, and teachers have said about maintaining the quality of education that's expected in Darien and to respond accordingly. Tonight, we have an opportunity to correct course and begin to put our community's resources where they will have the most impact. Please pause for a moment and reflect on the fact that district leadership has determined that the best response to increased student need was to cut instructional aides, cut teachers, increase class sizes, cut the arts, cut PE, but add 2 assistant principals at the secondary level to help facilitate meetings, and then built their entire budget around this idea. I have a great deal of respect for my colleagues in administration, but at some point, we have to realize we can't solve every problem in this district just by hiring more administrators and outside consultants. We should be investing our resources on those positions that work closest with students. A quick comparison of our current staffing with the 2018-19 budget shows us that over the last 5 years, we have cut general education FTE despite relatively flat enrollment K-12. Over the last 5 years, we have remained stagnant in our special education teacher FTE, despite our climbing identification rate. Over the last 5 years, we have added a significant amount of FTE that is not student-facing. We need to understand that every time we pull resources away from our general education population and faculty, we're actually exacerbating the issues we have with our ballooning special education identification rate. Why would we choose this moment when our students' needs have so significantly increased to undermine programming, take away resources and teachers, and reallocate funds to fulfill an administrative wish list? To ask that our elementary and middle school students sacrifice more programming to pay the price because we've added so many non-student facing positions over the last few years is just wrong. It's time we finally admit these cuts are jeopardizing programming. Administration has had 6 weeks to show how their efficiencies wouldn't impact students, and for 6 weeks they have been unable to do so. I truly believe that you are all serving on this board because you genuinely care about what's best for our kids. I have to believe that by now, after sitting through these last 6 weeks, you cannot still believe that these cuts won't significantly jeopardize the quality of education we provide. This may be the most consequential vote you have while you sit on this board. Please do what's right. Please vote for our students. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shelley Cinch, 34 LaForge Road. Slightly different than most people you've heard from. I actually have a 15-month-old, so being in front of the Board of Education right now is never on my thought list. But it's become apparent that the exceptional education that people move to Darien for could be impacted by decisions that you're making today. Because I don't want my son to end up going to elementary school and not have an art teacher or a PE teacher that isn't spread super thin. So the impacts that the things that you're doing today might impact future students. And I can guarantee you, I've talked to a lot of other parents who have young kids or people who have just moved to Darien, and this was quite shocking that this is the way that we're going. We move here expecting an exceptional education for our kids, and what I've been hearing and seeing lately is not that. So at some point, if Darien doesn't maintain the education that's expected, people will look elsewhere, and we will be noting how people are voting today, and maybe we need to make some changes going forward. But this is now getting to people who don't even have kids within the schools right now. So I didn't prepare anything specifically, but I've been to the last several meetings, and it's become very concerning, the direction that we might be going in, continuing to make cuts when that's not what I expected. And my husband was a graduate of Darien of 2003. So his experience here was very vast. Families lived here for a long time. But this is just quite shocking to me that this is where we're at in Darien.
Good evening. My name is Paul Hendrickson. I live at 97 Hoyt Street. I've lived in town for 60 years. I'm a graduate of Darien High School, as is my son and 6 close relatives. I want to thank the Board of Education, both past and present, for recruiting, developing, and retaining quality teaching staff. Both my son and I, as well as my numerous relatives, have been beneficiaries of their instruction. Tonight, I come before you not to speak about the budget, but something more important, one of those teachers. The passing of longtime beloved Darien teacher and administrator Kathy Schultz. On hearing of Kathy's passing, my wife Joan and I discussed how to break the news to our 32-year-old son Rob, who lives in Chicago. However, this past Monday, we received an email from Rob stating Kathy Schultz passed away on 1/31. Best teacher there was, and a link to her obituary. 25 years ago, Rob was a second grader in Kathy's class at Holmes Elementary School. A few years later, he was lucky enough to have her again, this time as his 5th grade teacher. Kathy, with her ever-present smile and her infectious enthusiasm, captured the minds and touched the hearts of her students. She loved them, and they loved her back. And it might be said that she had this effect on several parents also. My phrase for this is the it factor. You can see it in selected performing artists, skilled craftsmen, professional athletes, and teachers. They transcend their peers. Kathy had the it factor. Ira Friedland, her principal at Holmes School, spoke with awe and amazement about Kathy's teaching abilities. He knew he had a star. Everyone could see that she was born to be a teacher, an excellent and caring professional. About a decade ago, I interviewed for the school business administrator position in Darien. Kathy was on the interview committee. She recognized me immediately, gave me a big smile and hug, and asked about Robert, who was then in college. In summary, years ago, 5th grader Robert Hendrickson said, "Miss Schultz is the woman." It saddens me that we now have to use the past tense.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Anyone else in person? If anyone online would like to participate in public comment, please use the raised hand icon. Sorry, Sperling, you are unmuted and recognized.
Good evening. I'm Sari Sperling, the art teacher at Royal Elementary School, and I live in Fairfield. Thank you very much for the time to speak. I'd like to take a moment to describe what these proposed cuts will look like and how they will affect the elementary art program at your children's schools. Darien has always valued having one art teacher per elementary school, and that art teacher would be with their kids for their whole journey through elementary school, teaching them and getting to know them for 6 years, then launching them to middle school. We usually have 5 dedicated art teachers for 5 elementary schools. That's 1 at each school. We currently have 4 art teachers. One of our art teachers has left and may not be replaced next year. So it's very possible that 3 of our 4 art teachers will be traveling to cover different schedules. These cuts will eliminate the consistency of that one dedicated art teacher, and that will affect the art programming here in Darien. Scheduling will be complex to make this work. Our teachers will have less prep time for each class. What does that mean? Well, that means if I'm trying to do a clay lesson, I may not be able to get the clay in the kiln for 3 weeks. Things are going to get lost. Students who miss a day will miss the project, or time may not allow clay to be used at all. I know it will happen because this is actually already happening to students. As I teach as an itinerant, because I already travel on F days to Hindley, and that also means that the Royal Art Room is not in use at that time. Students will engage in a more restricted range of programming, and due to scheduling constraints, the emphasis will shift to what's practical instead of focusing on the curriculum. And speaking of curriculum, when I was first hired by the district 4 years ago, classes were 1 hour long. We had time to involve all students in clay and other 3D projects such as sewing and weaving. The timing has been reduced to 45-minute periods. This change has been a challenge for the teachers to give children enough time to learn, create, and then the setup and the cleanup. Our once robust program and curriculum has diminished every year that I've worked in this district. Darien has a great deal of pride in their schools, and the art department is a big part of their children's experience. At any given day, if you were to visit the art studios in the Darien High School, you would see hundreds of kids deeply committed to their work, painting, ceramics, and their photography. They have arrived there because of the great and continuous programming that starts at the elementary schools. We have been talking a lot about our vision of the graduate, and with these proposed cuts, the district seems to be saying that the elementary art is not a foundational part of this vision of the graduate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else online? There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, I will move to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the members of the public who are here this evening, public officials, and our teaching staff here. Thank you. I trust our families. Thank you for your cooperation and just working with the little disruption of a snow day. I'm sure it went over okay with our students. The elementary schools this week, I don't mind if we just sort of kick off a little bit, just celebrate kindness. And I think it's pretty appropriate and sort of calibrate around this particular topic. From cards to messages adorning the hallways and classrooms, from the high school, from our students picking up candy up at the high school, no matter what their age, and actually taking some of it to give to their parents on a special day. So we thank everyone for that. We also want to recognize, I have a very short clip here from the Wave Strong Club at the high school, and they put together a little video of what kindness means to them that was used in our elementary schools, just to give you a wee bit of sense of the mentoring that takes place. It's very brief, and just take a wee moment just to actually play it and recognize the kids.
Got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric, baby, when I turn it on. Hi, my name is Katie Coslow. I'm a senior and I'm the president of Theater 308. Kindness matters to me because you never know what someone's going through in their life, so it's important to spread kindness to everyone at all times.
Hi, I'm Sadie Stafford and I'm a senior at Darien High School. Something that I wish I knew about kindness when I was in elementary school is that it's limitless. It can be any of the little things you do, any of the big things you do, and everything in between. From supporting one another, checking in on each other, kindness is the most important thing to incorporate in your day-to-day life.
My name is Sophie DuPont. I'm a junior at DHS, and I like to show kindness by giving the people and animals that I care about hugs, like my dogs.
Hi, I'm Cal Leonard, and I'm in Theater 308, and I think that kindness is awesome because it creates warm, nurturing environments like the one in Theater 308. So many people that I've met here are kind, and they show me to be proud of myself.
Hi, I'm Maggie Bellissimo. I'm a senior at Darien High School. I show kindness by making sure to constantly reach out to friends, family, and people I normally don't spend a lot of time with. I check in on them and see how they're doing and listen to any problems they might be having.
Hi, I'm Jordan Undover, and I'm a junior in Darien High School, and I take drawing and painting. And I think kindness is important because it's always good to do what you can.
Hey, doing? I'm Will Browner. I'm junior on the Darien lacrosse team. Kindness to me is just making sure no one around you feels alone, and you can do this by periodically checking in on those around you, making sure they feel safe.
I'm a freshman with finance friendly. We're both students at Darien High School. In elementary school, I wish I knew the importance of spreading kindness. And I wish I knew how kindness can make someone's day.
Hi, I'm Kay Williams. I'm a junior at Darien High School, and something I wish I knew about kindness in elementary school that I know now is how important kindness is. While it may be a small act that only takes you a few seconds out of your day, it can really change someone else's life.
Hi, one of my I show kindness is by making sure everybody feels included on the basketball team. Whether it's during pasta dinners, in practice, or on the bus rides up to the games, I make sure people feel included and that everybody knows that we're all one family together.
I'm Coach Michelle, I'm a senior at Darien High School. I play football, and to me, kindness is fun. It's just being there for people, checking in on them, making sure they feel included and loved and appreciated.
I'm George Persinger. I'm a junior at DHS, and I play hockey for Darien Blue Wave Post Office. One thing I wish I knew was that just one small act of kindness can change someone's day.
Hi, my name is Bridget Moore, and I'm a junior at Darien High School. Something I know now that I wish I'd known in elementary school about kindness is that it's the small acts that count. Saying hi to someone, waving to someone, or sitting with someone new at the lunch table could make someone's day.
Hi, my name is Molly Baker, and I'm a junior at Darien High School. I define kindness as being nice and friendly with others who serve us. Some ways I show kindness sometimes are holding the door for others, or smiling at others in public, or being there for my friends when they get there.
I'm Sam Silsby, and part of the ways from you. I show kindness through like the little things in life, like opening the door and like saying thank you, being
So thank you to the members of the Wave Strong, also to the members of our PTOs around the district, because they have been assisting with kindness and expressing their gratitude and kindness to our staff, and also to our staff for their wraparound services and compassion this week, and having a wee bit of fun also with the kids. I also want to recognize, just a wee shout out to Sasha Mehta, grade 11. Sasha has been selected as the recipient of the 2024 National Center for Women and Information Technology Aspirations in Computing High School Award for the Connecticut affiliate recipient. So congratulations to her. It's a mouthful, but she is obviously a leader, and she's obviously can use technology well. And if you can do that and combine that with a good cause, a noble cause, she'll do well in life. So she'll be accepting an award in person this spring. Since the last time we were together for a regular board meeting, we had the tri-state visit for our visual and performing arts. So that was a couple of days from January 31st through February 2nd, where they came and visited the district, talked to staff members, students, board members, administrators, teachers, parents, and they've sort of evaluated the program as to how we're providing services, in those particular performing and visual arts programs and how we're servicing our kids. We will receive that report. That was well received. The visit, thank you for the board members who participated. We look forward to receiving that report in a couple of weeks. And Jacqueline is here. Colleen is not here, but I want to just maybe shout out to Jacqueline and Colleen for their terrific job leading the Tri-State Steering Committee. They did a fabulous job, impeccable preparation, went over really well. So she's in here somewhere. She's somewhere around. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you to the members of the Community Fund for their continual kind consideration of funding the MMS Team Talk. This looks very encouraging to secure the funds. Dr. Dad will be speaking with the Community Board again on February 27th at their board meeting. K-3 reading curriculum, as was reported at the Curriculum Committee, the District K-12 Literacy Steering Committee. Many people or several of our staff members are on that. Thank you. We continue to simultaneously work with the state, and we have another meeting scheduled next week as we continue to seek to understand and ask clarity around this particular task. The last Wednesday was Read Aloud Day, and many of us participated in that. I just want to thank the teachers again for facilitating, and also for the community members. We had first responders there, public officials there, parents there, community members there who participated, and as is usually the case, you get more out of that than you actually get contributing to the students. But thank you for opening the doors to the classrooms and for facilitating that experience. Our students are off tomorrow for February break, so we wish everyone a relaxing and rejuvenating February break. Our staff members are in tomorrow, and that's basically a school-based professional development day. Lots of our staff members are actually running either team meetings or the workshops that are they're being offered throughout the day. I do not believe we're bringing anybody in tomorrow. It's all in-house and run by our staff, so thank you for that. Thank you.
Jill. Sorry, I'm up. Yes, thank you. Okay. We don't have any student representatives here this evening, so I will move on to the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the following minutes of the regular meeting held on January 23rd, 2024, minutes of the special meeting held on January 23rd, 2024, and minutes of the regular meeting held on January 30th, 24, minutes of the special meeting held on January 30th, 2024, and minutes of the special meeting held on February 6th, 2024. Julie, seconded by Dennis. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. Board committee reports. Sarah.
The curriculum subcommittee met last Thursday, February 8th. We talked to the literacy update as well as about play-based learning. Amy will bring play-based learning back on for our next regular meeting. And of course, we'll have a literacy update as always on our monthly subcommittee updates going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Julie?
Thank you. The policy committee met last Friday. There are a handful of policies in the packet for tonight for a first read.
Okay. John?
In finance, it's Tuesday.
Sorry, finance was scheduled Tuesday, but canceled because of snow, and it's been now rescheduled for Monday, February 26th at 8 a.m., if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, I'll move on to presentations and discussions. Further discussion and action on the 2024-2025 proposed budget. Alan, you have a little something to talk to us about, and then I'll open it to board members for any commentary.
So there are two documents that were not part of the particular package that was sent out. So they have been posted on the website. One of them is just 2 slides that I have, and then the other one is a revised ad cut list that is before the board at the moment and is also online. So before the board engages in the dialogue about the specific line items, I just want to remind the board just in general of some of the constraints of the budget and also just what's in it, what's not in it. Just one last quick summary. I will not take a long time over this, but clearly we committed at the 6.19. That includes the contractual salaries and benefits for all our bargaining groups and for all our employees. But it also does recognize, gives recognition, deserved recognition to our teachers, and also supports the recruitment and retention, both of our teachers and also our administration. It was important that we recognize our teachers and we address the retention and recruitment matters, and the board has done that through the various contracts. It does support special education, in particular up to 14 paraprofessionals and increase tuition. With a bus contract, we are clearly over 7% at that particular point. So we had to realize some efficiencies. We've done that through scheduling, class size, and also efficiencies. So we did reduce the 8 teachers, both at the elementary and at the middle school. We also did efficiencies through transportation and scheduling efficiencies. We did have to do some reductions. That included laying off staff, removing staff from central services here, and also other personnel. And we also reduced various line items throughout the budget. So that gets us to where we are right now at 6.19. I would say that this budget, and I know it sometimes it can seem like a conflicting message of recruitment, retention, and yet here we are talking about reducing capacity of staff. And but I would say, I'll tell you that I honestly 100% believe that this budget provides the capacity to deliver the instruction, the curriculum for our students, provide interventions for our students, support the mental health of our students, and support the retention of staff. It does it through the scheduling efficiencies. It does it through enrollment adjustments, adhering to the Board of Education guidelines, and it does it through administrative redeployment, both joining special education services and administrators at a 0 increase in FTEs. We are not reducing staff on the back of increasing administration. Administration is 0 neutral. So that is the way we have done the budget. A few quick highlights of that. This budget directs wraparound services to our middle school. The middle school is in particular in need of wraparound services. I have shared that at different forums and at different times throughout the year. It supports the educational, instructional, the instruction of the school, wellness for students, and provides academic supports for all students, whether they be an SRBI or whether they be general supports for students with specialized teachers. It keeps the team's philosophy and structure and still works within that 20 to 24 guideline. Even with our projected enrollment next year, we will have lower class sizes than we had 5 years ago with at least 100 more students. So again, we are not reducing staff members to the level even that the consultant would suggest we actually could do that. This is a very conservative approach. It improves instructional leadership and climate and culture of the school. Yes, through the increase of some of the administration. And I know when you say increase administration, but sometimes it's actually necessary. In this case, it is necessary. It strengthens and increases the coherence of the special education services, like vertically, coherence, transitions between the various grade levels at the schools, from elementary to middle school and middle school to high school. It'll also help coordinate greater the implementation of specialized instruction. It does provide additional academic support and is responsive to our students through interventions for students, particularly at the middle school level. It addresses the mental health and wellness, both through the regular budget of the staff that we have on staff right now, but also through intern psychologists and middle school wellness. That will be through a grant. It maintains the safety and security. I know the safety and security of the middle school has been brought up through the campus monitor. That campus monitor, again, was put in place specifically before COVID to assist with the sort of flow of traffic at the middle school. That was the specific reason. If you remember walking a Stop and Shop up and down different aisles, the middle school, I mean, understandably, middle school kids go all over the place. It was particularly put in place for that particular purpose. That purpose is no longer needed there. We have the SRO there, and we also have an SSO there who is there if there is not an absence during the day. It's an enclosed campus. We feel comfortable. The last thing I would put on the table is compromise the safety. And I think through all the safety improvements we've brought to the table, safety has been a priority for this particular district. It expands the preschool program, possibly from 4 days to 5 days. It provides for better teacher coverage. That was the use of the paraprofessionals and increasing the 2 building substitutes. Again, this seems like maybe a conflict, but again, they're not mutually exclusive. It does create some leadership positions, whether they would be the world language positions or the curriculum leadership positions that we heard this evening. And it does support the retention and recruitment of administrators. How does it do that? It makes the job more manageable. At some point, you can talk about the recruitment of administration and teachers, but you have to do something about it. And one of the reasons people leave their profession is that the workload is just not manageable. And so that is one of the tacit outcomes of this and proposals of this particular budget. And of course, it plans for capital needs that's reflected in the capital budget. Just wanted to present set the scene a little bit just as the board enters into the next discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'll open it to board members if they'd like to make any sort of comment on the bigger picture of the budget before we jump into the add cut process. John?
You want to climb? Joking aside. So thank you. Indulge me for a few minutes, but this is my 5th budget season as board member. And as our chair has pointed out several times in recent weeks, it's a difficult year. I mean, even stemming back to my RTM days over 15 years ago, or about 15 years ago. But this doesn't come to a surprise. We all knew it. And that's why for the first time, this board published a preview of the district expected expense growth, or as I cheekily called it, the baked in analysis, late last fall. We gave our partners in local government and our constituents a preview of sorts related to the fiscal challenges we're about to face for this district's fiscal year 2024-2025 proposed budget. Jill pointed out that in this board, in cooperation with the Board of Finance, RTM, have eliminated areas of overhead, such as budget control was an easy one. We recalibrated the contract with the YMCA, optimized secretaries, among many other items, mostly small that went unnoticed over the last 4 budget cycles. And there was $1 million COVID-related reduction of appropriation by the Board of Finance that was also never corrected for, if you will. The primary drivers of growth in the superintendent's proposed budget have been presented numerous times. Alan just did it. But based on the comments earlier, I really want to focus on our employee-related expenses. And I just want to cover it one more time. The salaries increase amounts to $3.6 million, representing over half of the total $7.1 million proposed budget increase. Health benefits and retirement payments represent another $1.5 million of the $7.1 million proposed budget increase. To sum it all up, 70% of the total proposed school budget increase, the superintendent's proposed school budget increase, is directly related to employee salaries and benefits, even after adjusting for the proposed enrollment-driven staff reduction in scheduling efficiencies proposed by Dr. Atlee and being considered this evening. So I'm partly to blame. I participated on the negotiating team over the last 2 years. Both the current teacher's contract involved that, and more recently to represent the board in the administrator's contract, and we even got involved, I believe, in the secretary's contract or the admin assistant's contract. The agreements reached for these contracts were not only deemed revolutionary due to their focus on catching up our lower salaried educators and administrators relative to surrounding districts, but also deemed innovative and fair among all parties involved. I can also attest an item that was not agreed upon was the notion that we could continue to employ the same number of educators as our student enrollment numbers have fallen over the last 5 years in the middle school, while staff salaries and benefits increase at a rate not seen in memorable history. And remember, will take responsibility for those increases. From my perspective, if anybody tells you that this board or community doesn't appreciate our educators and broader staff, they're spinning a false narrative to you. The numbers I outlined just proved it. It's not as easy as matching widgets with manufacturing capacity, as my 2 industrial engineer student sons would say. But as we've said many times from this table, and Duke said it often, we are in the people business. Admittedly, the decisions we face are tough because we are dealing with what Jill also called humans. I view it as the little humans, the ones that we love and cherish and want to see grow and prosper so we can set them off, for their next steps in their lives. And the big humans, who are the educators we share deep admiration and respect for as they teach and guide our littles through their childhood years. But when there's less littles in the classrooms, it's the board's policy, and I would argue its duty to right-size the number of the bigs being paid and supported by our taxpayers. Hearing up to 40 Middlesex teachers are only teaching 4 sections, one below most of their contractual obligations, speaks volumes of the amount of educational excess capacity driven by the middle school's declining enrollment. And again, 114 students over the last 5 years, and modest increases, granted, projected, but very modest. These are not made-up figures. It's data that has driven Middlesex classroom size out of line with the board's classroom policy. Well, over the short term, such adjustments can be somewhat disruptive, and I feel it, and painful on a human level. The right decision for the well-being and fiscal health of our high-performing district and our broader tax-paying community is to right size. All my decisions this evening will be made with one clear goal: meeting the mission of the district, providing the quality of education parents expect in a most efficient manner for the benefit of our entire community over the long run. So I really appreciate everybody's time this evening, and I hope we'll go over 3 minutes.
Would anyone else like to speak? Dennis?
Yes, so in thinking about tonight, I kind of just went back and looked through the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education and looked at roles and responsibilities of board members. The first, I cherry picked through the roles and responsibilities and pulled out 8, I think, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So the roles and function of board members are often misinterpreted by the public. The school board is a policy-making body, and members are the chief advisors to the superintendent. Board members do not manage the day-to-day operations of a school district. They see to it the district is well managed by professional administrators. Individually, they have no more authority than any other member of the public. School boards are not responsible for the day-to-day management of the school district. That job is left to professional educators hired by the school board. The school board delegates district administration and daily operations to the superintendent. And then it goes on to say, what does a good board member look like? A good board member should vote at all times in the best interests of the school district. A good board member avoids administrative decisions or attempts to second-guess the administration. The superintendent is a chief administrator, and the board has no administrative function. A good board member is flexible and realizes there are times when changes must be made, when tradition cannot be honored, and when pressure must be ignored. A good board member is interested in obtaining facts, but also remembers that the administration has a responsibility for operating the schools and cannot spend all its time making reports to boards. And lastly, a good board member is able to support a decision when it's voted upon.
Thank you, Dennis. Would anyone else like to speak? Sarah?
Thanks. I've said repeatedly at this table that I view my role on this board as supporting and advocating for the most robust educational experience for each and every child enrolled in the Darien school system. I do, and always will, think of the kids first. A robust educational experience is undoubtedly expensive, and it absolutely includes some nice to haves in addition to the need to haves. That is what Darien families expect when they move to town for our supposedly excellent schools. I have also said repeatedly that I do not support the notion of backing into a number when examining a budget. To me, the Board of Education's job tonight is to approve a budget that best supports Darien's children and teachers while taking care to be as fiscally responsible as possible. It is then the role of the other governmental bodies to decide how and if to fund the schools as the Board of Education suggests is best. This budget, as it's been said multiple times, is particularly challenging as our conversations have shown. I want to thank Alan and his team for all of their work on this. They have many stakeholders to make happy through their budget. It's an impossible job. Dr. Adley has said in multiple cases that some of his proposals are because of financial pressure, and given the option, the reductions would not have been included. Again, my opinion is that the Board of Education needs to put forward the budget that is best for the students and staff. To that end, I do want to speak specifically to one of my votes tonight. I will be voting to add back the teachers in the core academic subjects at the middle school. I feel strongly that voting to cut these teachers sends a message that while this board says we are trying to recruit and retain the best teaching talent, we actually are doing the opposite. Board members have heard in the past few weeks that candidates have withdrawn their applications to work in Darien because after listening to our meetings, they don't see us supporting our staff and the holistic needs of our students. Cutting an entire team of teachers reaffirms that belief, and I cannot and will not support that. I also want to speak to those who suggested that we are violating policy if we do not cut these teachers. Class size policy 6510 states that class size and student learning is complex and affected by grade level, instructional methods, and procedures, among other things. At our October 24th meeting, we were shown data about the current class sizes at Middlesex. The average class size was said to be 18.23 across the board and 18.7 in the 5 core academic subjects. As a reminder, the guidelines for class size in policy 6510 at the middle school is 18 to 24 students, not the 20 to 24 that Alan just mentioned. Our average class sizes are currently within those guidelines. Additionally, enrollment at Middlesex is projected to be higher than it is now through 2028, as shown in our budget book on page 72. There will be no violation of policy if the reduction of teaching staff does not go through tonight. I want to end my remarks by thanking members of the community for sharing their thoughts with me, whether by email, public comment, phone, or even stopping me in Palmer's. Community engagement and advocacy is a vital piece of the budget process. I value each comment, so thank you for your involvement.
Anyone else? Okay. I'm going to move to AdCut. I'll go back through the directions. I want to, before I do, I want to address one more time this question of devaluing staff. I think it's a tough thing to throw out there right now. I think that it's important for people to understand that we've added 32.53 staff since fiscal year 19, and our enrollment is at less than 1%. We've added administrators, psychologists, security personnel, a director of mental health technicians, and paraprofessionals. I think it is very important for people to understand that this board highly values each and every professional in our schools. We do have some difficult decisions in front of us. We will make them. Some of you will be happy with us, some will not. But this is a community that values its schools, whether the board, parents, or greater members of the community who vote and pay our taxes year after year. And I think it's important that we not put out there that that's not the case. Thank you. All right. So for the AdCut this evening, as Sarah sent out directions to everybody, I think everyone received it in their email. We will go through one by one. Where there are grouped items, you can just start with the top item. So taking as an example, the first line there, RC1, if Dave would like to move it, he can move it for the first account there. And then whether it's an increase or decrease, if the item receives a second, then it gets opened up for discussion. If there is a desire to, there'll be a discussion. If there's a desire to amend it, then somebody is welcome to motion for an amendment, and then we vote on the amendment. If that amendment fails, it goes back to the original motion. Okay? We can take questions along the way. All right.
I would just add, if anybody following along on their spreadsheets, a vote that passes, we turn to a Y on the spreadsheet.
On the spreadsheet, yes. Yes.
Are we going to throw that up, the spreadsheet up so we can follow up?
Typically,
You just do it on your list? Okay, all right.
And we get to see it at the end
Yeah.
as a surprise.
Okay. All right. So. Do we have a motion to decrease RC1 DHS 21102 assistant principal? Dave. So moved. Okay. Do we have a second? Katie. Okay. I'll open it to discussion. Okay. With that. Pardon?
All in favor?
All in favor? And this is, okay.
Right, can you read
Oh,
them
it's-
out? Yeah.
Yes, all in favor is Rambling, Best, Brown, Lublin. The motion fails.
Well, we have to vote no.
All opposed. Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. The motion fails. Okay. Is there a motion to decrease RC3 MMS 21112 assistant principal by $186,740?
So moved.
Is there a second? Katie seconds. Okay, I'll open it for discussion. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? That is Grambling, Best, Brown, Lublin. All opposed? That is Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Is there a motion to increase, right? RC 14 21314 art coordinator by $28,639. Katie moves. Is there a second? Julie seconds. Is there any discussion? Yes, John.
I would just add, for the public, we are also, when we're voting on this, approving the linked insurance or other benefits to these. So we're voting as a block, just for those who might be following along on a spreadsheet at home.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion on this item? Yes, Julie.
Thank you. And just to add also, this item has implications regarding the proposed director of visual and performing arts. So just to be clear, I think what we're talking about, is that correct?
Yeah.
So to restore the art coordinator would mean, that we would be talking about not moving to the proposed director of visual and performing arts.
Thank you. Okay,
Rich. You'll make those adjustments as we go or catch us if we, okay, thank you.
okay, all those in favor? Best, Lublin. Okay, all those opposed? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay. Do I have a motion to increase RC 18-11023 salary savings by 50,000? Robin moves. Is there a second? Dennis seconds. I'll open it for discussion.
Can I just ask Rich, this $50,000 number, I mean, clearly you put in a number. What do you, is this 50,000 unattainable, do you think? Or I would just love a little more color around it.
So I think given that the two assistant principals passed in favor, an additional 50,000 is likely attainable. Given it has to go through all the processes and the RTM is not until May, assuming no changes in those categories. By the time you post, you interview, assuming the person has to give notice, they're probably not starting July 1st. So another $50,000 is probably.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Robin.
Just one additional comment, and part of the reason I did the increase is just looking at our current year salary savings currently is $220,000 in the forecast, and it increased 100,000 since October. So I thought having 100,000 total in salary savings would make sense for next year.
Okay, thank you. John?
And just noting, this is a brand new category too, so limited history on it.
Okay, all those in favor? That is Grambling, Best, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. All those opposed, Lublin. Okay. Do I have a motion to increase RC 19-191-2006 elementary curriculum coordinator? Sarah, do I have a second?
Looks like we skipped one.
I think we
I did. Contract support.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie. Well, okay,
That's the one that's.
that's the one that's
It's
tied to the other one.
one. Other ones.
So Rich, is there anything to vote on there?
I mean, technically, I think you probably have to vote, but since it's
Okay.
tied, it's probably a no.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Katie, for flagging it. Is there a motion to decrease
Katie.
18?
I'll second.
Okay, Katie moves, Sarah seconds, and then all those in favor. Katie, oh, sorry, Best Lublin. All those opposed. Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay. Now we're on RC 19-191-2006. Sarah, are you
I'll make the motion.
moving? Okay, do I have a second? Okay, Julie? All right, I'll open it to discussion. Okay,
I'll
Yes.
speak up. I mean, I think we've heard quite a bit of value offered by the elementary curriculum coordinator, but I will say also, I do feel that there are a few layers isn't the right word, but a few resources being lost at the elementary level in this budget, which concerns me. And so I'm supporting adding this person back because I think our earliest learners need at least as much attention as we can give them to hopefully set them off on the right path moving forward in their educational career.
I will just reiterate the purpose that I put this back on is that there are at least two pieces of legislation that will significantly impact our earliest elementary curriculum. And I think this position adds a ton of value for that and we'll support that.
okay. It does include leadership stipends for teachers and teacher leaders to do some of the work, correct?
The proposal includes the stipends instead of the
Yes.
curriculum coordinator, right? I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. All those in favor? Okay, that's Best, Lublin, Parent. All those opposed? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Nelson. Okay. Do I have a motion to increase 21211 Program Director K5 by 186,740? Katie, do I have a second? Julie, I'll open it for discussion.
This budget process has been difficult, and I've spoken on my thoughts a lot, and unfortunately, despite 6 weeks of meetings asking for information about how logistical challenges might be handled, my impression of this budget remains the same. And it is not better. It does not maintain what we have. This is a loss. And special education in particular is facing real potential for ongoing damage that will take years to repair with this cut. It is not possible to take the situation in Darien and have one person K through 12. It does not make sense to remove the one unifying person from 5 elementary schools, especially in a time where we have had incredible turnover in this SAP position. 3 of the 5 just started this year. Our identification rates are higher. This board just approved adding administration without special education experience necessarily at both the middle and the high school, and yet we're removing a highly qualified, experienced professional from the elementary school where most identifications and where early intervention is most important. This is a reckless proposal, in my opinion.
Julie?
Thank you. Just to reiterate again, my concern about losing resources or supports at the elementary level. Our identification rates are very high. Our student needs are increasing. It is better for us to be as well staffed to catch those as early as possible and meet our students' needs before they become more complex.
Anyone else? All right. All those in favor? Kate, Best and Lublin, and all those opposed? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay. All right. I guess we'll go through this next one. To increase 21201, Director of Special Education by 205,142. Do I have a motion? Katie, second, Julie. Although, nope, open for discussion. Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Best and Loveland. All those opposed? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay. Program Director 612, 21211, 188,740. I have a motion.
Wait, where are you? Which
Yeah,
one? Yeah.
Those are all
That was a
bundled, I
block.
think.
Those block.
Those are all possible.
Well, I know, but okay.
So since the director of special ed K-12 failed, then by definition, the next one is.
The next one fails. Okay. Do I then need to go do the next one, 21201, Director of Special Education for 205, the inverse?
No, because the other one passed.
Okay. All right, so I can go all the way down to the Director of World Language.
Yep.
Okay. Motion to create a for 21201, Director of World Language K through 12 for 155,038. Do I have a motion? Sarah, do I have a second? Julie? I'll open it for discussion.
I've shared my views. I feel like this is, well, I know that the district does not, if we do place a high value on world language, I think the optics is devaluing that department, which we all value strongly. I worry about the optics of not having a person in that position. It is a core academic department.
Robin?
I want to support the adding back of this as well, just because in terms of curriculum transitions between 5th and 6th grade, also 8th and 9th grade, especially with the addition of Mandarin in middle school and ensuring consistency in those transitions. Also with the need at some point in the next couple of years to add the AP Mandarin, and if there are other courses for ASL as well.
Julie?
Thank you. I'll just agree with what both of the people across the table just said and add. I also think it's a dynamic department and it's growing, and it's critical piece of connecting our students to the world. And I think to not give it the gravitas that it deserves by removing having a department chair is doing us and our students a disservice. So I think it's pretty key. It sounds like to not have a department chair, we're going to just kind of stagnate or just kind of ride it out. And that's not what we do or what we should do.
I'm going to be supporting the cut, but I will be looking at it closely. I think it's a critical department. I think that these skills matter very much, and I'll be looking to see how the teacher leader model works for this program. Because I do believe in the critical importance of world language to prepare our students for a global environment and to prepare our students for their environment here, including in particular American Sign Language and the importance of that language through our schools.
Can I just add one more piece? I'm sorry. Sure. I just did want to point out, I'm quite certain that this was a position that was specifically spoken about as being driven by the financial pressure. So this was not something that would have gone in here lightly. And I want to recognize that and remind us that it's not our job tonight to make the numbers work. I recognize we need to be responsible and certainly cognizant of it, but our job here is to put together what we think is the best possible budget.
Yeah.
I think it was also the size of the department, but
Which is why I expanded it to a K-12 position, keeping that in mind, that I understood the size. So by enlarging the position K-12, to me, that took care of that.
John,
Can I understand what make the numbers work and who agreed to anything like that?
I don't understand your question.
You just said make the numbers work.
When Dr. Adley presented this, he said this was not something he was interested in losing, but it was something that he felt like he needed to do in order to get the total budget number down to a place that he felt he could bring forward.
You're not saying that people are around this board table who are voting are trying to make numbers work, though.
No,
Okay,
I wanted to
thanks.
say,
Okay,
as
just
we
wanted-
do our deliberating, I just thought that was an important piece to remind people of. That
That's a
this-
true statement, yes.
Dennis.
For me, I think we're talking about, well, we'll be talking shortly about reducing our teaching staff and here we're talking about adding an administrator, and I just can't add an administrator when we're talking about reducing our teaching staff.
Okay.
Just clarification, this isn't adding an administrator.
Right,
This is
keeping-
taking away a cut.
Keeping a current.
But we've added two more, so this would bring us back down to, so point taken of verbiage, but this would be adding a net plus one administrator.
You're right. It makes it goes from a redeployment to an addition.
The number, let's be clear, the number, if this were to pass, the number of FTEs in administration would go up. Correct?
Correct, yeah.
Also, to be clear, the FTE is like, if this were to pass next year, the two new people that are on the staff are going to be the APs, not the world language department chair, which has been there since the inception of department chair.
Okay. All those in favor? Best, Lublin, Parent, Nelson. All those opposed? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon. A motion to decrease RC 16-12-001 consultant services by 20,000. I'll make the motion. Do I have a second? That is Sini. All those in favor? That is unanimous. The consultant services.
These are the admin ones, no action.
All right. A motion to decrease RC 18-11027 contract support based on the paraprofessional contract settlement by 172,471. I'll make the motion. Julie seconds. All those in favor? That is unanimous. A motion to increase RC 24 admin 21603 teacher aides by 147,070, just adding 4 special ed paras and reducing our contracted staff. I'll make the motion. Do we have a second? Sarah, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Okay. All right. I'm going to open this one for discussion just in case, but this is RC 20 admin 11043, a transportation coordinator for 87,411.
Wait, so the teacher aides, RC 25.
I skipped. Thank you. RC 24 admin 21603 teacher aides. No, I did that one just now.
We just did that one.
There's a lot of lines on this page. RC 20 admin 11043 transportation coordinator for increasing by, oh, there's different numbers.
Why don't we just, why don't you move it and we can talk about it?
All right. I'll move it. Do I have a second? Greg, all those, sorry, let's open for discussion. Would anybody like to discuss this any further? Yes, John.
So I believe the number you're looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, basically this is the model that was introduced later in the process in which we would add our own vehicles, hire our own staff, And there's a lot of puts and takes between adding drivers and then the savings from the contract. But if I just add up all those puts and takes, it looks like a $404,442 net savings.
Correct.
Not counting, of course, the dollars that we would have to spend, capital dollars to purchase vehicles.
Correct.
All right, so maybe we should talk about the process in which we'll have, if we do approve this, that we'll have to pursue.
So subsequent to this, there is an agenda item to request a capital appropriation from the Board of Finance for $850,000. So if we approve this batch of changes, I would also recommend approving subsequently the $850,000 for it is 5 Type 2 buses, a wheelchair van, and an additional Suburban.
So if you could maybe, Rich, just talk about the timing and how
Yes.
it's kind of play out.
So if this is approved, then the board would have to approve the supplemental appropriation for $850,000 to purchase the 5 vehicles, Type 2 vehicles, the Suburban, the Type 2, and then the ADA van that we had in the capital budget, which would come out, and the extra Suburban in the capital budget that would come out. At that point, it would have to go to the Board of Finance, ideally in early March. Assuming that the Board of Finance approves it, then it would go to the RTM in March. And then assuming that gets approved, we'd wait that 10-day rescission period, and then we'd issue the purchase orders to buy those vehicles and have them on site for midsummer.
Okay. And so as a reminder, we're not looking to run this during ESY. We'd be looking to launch it with the beginning of the next school year. Yes, Robin?
Just one comment. Can we also talk about the total savings over the 3-year period that you had projected just for the public?
Sure. So assuming it all goes through, we should anticipate saving about $1.2 million. It's a little less than the 1.4 because we would not be doing ESY under this model for the first year. And then assuming this goes through in fiscal 26, when you do your budget, you'll see an actual reduction in district transportation, which will represent that ESY dollar amount.
Katie?
Rich, can you please speak to the necessity of a transportation coordinator?
Sure. So the transportation coordinator fields any calls or emails from parents about bus routes and bus stops. It deals with if we have any bus accidents, whether it's the large buses or the small buses. It maintains the schedules for our in-district drivers. It's also the link to our bus depot. It also works on the routes that are available to all parents. It's the interface between this position and the data manager in terms of making sure information gets into Aspen. You can't really have a bus company without a transportation coordinator.
And we don't have someone in-house that manages that?
So we have a transportation coordinator. What this calls for is a transportation assistant. So what you'll see underneath that line, because we don't have that account yet, it would be adding a transportation assistant to the transportation director coordinator position.
And that's because this is
So you'd be
this
adding
addition is
essentially.
too much for the
It
one
would be. So
current person.
aside from the 25 home to school buses that you have, you'd be running essentially a small bus company. And so if you look at what a bus company has, they have a location manager, which is the equivalent of a director coordinator. And then they have a dispatcher, which is essentially an assistant. And so because you're effectively taking on the role of running a bus company, you would do that.
Thank you.
Rich, our current in-house transportation coordinators, pretty busy. I don't know if that's the right title for her, but there's more work at certain points in the year than she can do. Will this allay some of that?
It will. And so the assistant is not intended to be a 261-day employee, which is a 12-month employee. It's intended to be a 212-day employee because you do have some of those peaks and valleys. You know that your busiest time is really April through probably October, and you have a little bit of a lull period, and then you get into like exams where you have shortened days and you have to coordinate all that, and then you have another lull period, and then you're gearing up for ESY in the next school.
Okay. Dennis?
So I have a question on, what's my thing? Where will we service the buses that we're going to purchase?
Sure. So right now with the 6 Suburbans that we have, things like oil changes, fluid changes, spark plugs, things like that, we bring over to Ledge Road where the maintenance shop and DPW shop is. And so we have a mechanic who's our district employee, who's a maintenance employee. He does that work now. And so that person will have to service, do the oil changes and the inspections and things like that. If we happen to have a larger, disruption to the vehicle, maybe something with the wheelchair van, we would have to bring that out to an outside mechanic.
Dennis?
And then my other question was, you mentioned assuming this goes through and assuming this goes through. Mom and dad always taught me never to assume. So what happens if they don't pass and we approve the reduction of 400,000?
So if you pass this, and then let's say the Board of Finance or the RTM vote down the appropriation, at that point, the Board of Ed has to come back and reconcile other reductions within their budget to make up that $400,000.
That's important for this board to understand. Shirley, ESY transportation has been an area of work we've identified as something to, it's been a process of continuous improvement. I know we're not planning to launch it for this summer, but does this help support, in particular, ESY transportation in the future?
I think it would improve our coordination of efforts.
Okay, thank you. John?
And then one last thing I think we discussed briefly, if we implement this clearly, like during the week, the buses are busy serving student needs, but I think there's an opportunity over the weekend at least to serve smaller teams. Have you baked any numbers into?
So we haven't baked any savings into smaller athletic. If this passes, we'll start to look at some of those weekend events, and then obviously we would have to pay overtime to the driver, factor that in. But it would potentially give us an option for some of the smaller teams, whether it be like golf or tennis, for transportation.
Can you work that up in preparation for our partners down the line on the budget? Thank you.
Anything else on this one? Okay. All right. I have a motion to approve.
You already have it, so it's just.
Sorry, all in favor. Thank you. That is unanimous. I'm thinking we need to go down and do each of these though, given the nature of them. So I would say, do we have a motion on RC 24-21605 to add 426,916? I'll move it. Do I have a second? John, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay.
Can we get a quick?
We just
batch?
Yes, wonderful idea.
Why don't you make the
Yes.
motion?
To approve the remaining,
Do you want me to read them?
yeah, you read them.
Okay, so we just, sorry, we're.
Drivers.
So 5202, 5202, 5203, 52001, 82001, 82003, 84002. You can ask for the motion.
Yeah, that's it. They're
They're
separate. Okay, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. All right. A motion to decrease 25-52003 regular pupil transportation by 40,301. I'll make the motion. Is there a second? Greg, Rich, would you walk us through what that represents, please?
So in contract negotiations with First Student, who's our current home to school provider, we were offered or negotiated a 1.5% discount on the home to school bus rates based on the RFP that was submitted.
Okay. Any questions about that? Right, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, Rich. Okay. RC 26, admin 143003, ELP tuition. To offer the 4 or 5 day option. I'll make a motion. Is there a second? Dennis, I'll open it for discussion. Okay, all those in favor? That is Grambling, Best, Brown, Maroney, Senior, McCammon, Parent, Nelson, all those opposed. Lublin. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to decrease in RC 121215 the department chair by 124,030? Brown, is there a second? Maroney. Okay, I'll open it for discussion. All right, all those in favor? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini. All those opposed? Best, Lublin, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. The motion fails. Okay, is there a motion to decrease RC 21413, the wellness coordinator, by 21667? There is no motion. Thank you. Is there a motion to decrease in RC 12001 consultant services, 96,500? Team Talk. There is no motion. Okay, RC 125002 professional library purchase. There is no motion. RC 125003 professional development, 16,500, decreasing by 16,565. There is no motion. RC 1102007 parking fees. Increase the parking fee to $200 for 13,500. Robin moves. Is there a second? John, open it for discussion. Katie?
Can you just remind us what the dollar amount increase is?
So current year, students pay 110, and then the board a few months ago agreed to make it 150, and this would bring it to 200.
Okay. All those, yes.
I did the increase to be in line with what Ridgefield currently charges.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson.
Any opposed?
All those opposed, thank you. Brown, Lublin. Okay. RC 1101003 clubs and councils, a 20% reduction for 55,850. Is there a motion? Dave moves. Is there a second? Sini. Okay, I'll open it for discussion.
Wait, I'm sorry, which one is this, which amount was this?
RC 1 clubs and councils.
Thank you, sorry.
Julie.
Thank you. Just to point out again that since the only thing we fund for clubs and councils is the stipend for the advisor, a 20% reduction means literally to get rid of the clubs. No, I mean, not all of them, obviously. We had a list provided to us, but we can't kind of scale back.
Okay. Anyone else? Robin?
I would like to get a little clarity because I know in our current year, the financial report from January shows a significant amount of club and council salary savings from either clubs not running or step savings. And I was wondering, is there an opportunity in next year's budget to do an adjustment similar to almost what we do for turnover, estimating if clubs will or will not run, or
So
if,
in the budget, we do make an estimate for step savings. It could be higher or lower, just like you would have for turnover. We don't make an estimate as to whether or not a club will or will not run. So at the high school, I believe there's about 5 currently that are not running.
and are those already taken out of the budget for next year?
Sorry.
The clubs that are currently not running are already removed from the budget for next year, correct?
Correct. And then there are items that are running, but not necessarily have a advisor stipend, but will have one next year that are included. Which is why you don't see necessarily the decrease in the line item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dave?
I'd like to propose an amendment.
Okay,
So I'd like to change it from 20% to 10%.
okay. Is there a second? John? Okay. Any further discussion?
What's that amount? So I can put it in, sorry.
Rich, what is 10%? $28,000. Julie?
Thank you. Just a question, Rich. It takes 3 years, I think, for a club to exist to get an advisor stipended. And then the 3rd year, there's a stipend. How quickly does that go away? If there's 1 year that the club doesn't run, I would assume that the stipend for that advisor for that club goes away. Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, so we have an
Jill?
amendment. Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
I have a question. One thing, if we do vote to do a decrease here, I would I would request that any clubs that are required by honor societies such as Math Modeling Club, Math Team, be excluded from the current list that you have that was listed, because I know Mu Alpha Theta actually has those clubs as part of the service that they do. So that's just one comment. And then the other that I'd like to propose potentially doing a $20,000 cut, because when you look at the list of what you propose, that would include only the clubs that are under 18 students. If you go up to the 27,000, which would be the 10%, it includes a lot of clubs that were in the 30 to 40 student range, which I would hope that we would not cut.
Okay,
So the
so
motion-
she would have to make a motion to amend the amendment first.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works then.
Well, you would have to
So-
just say, I would like to make a motion.
I would like to make a motion to make it a $20,000 reduction as opposed to 10%.
Okay,
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Dennis.
okay, so
Sorry, clarification, Robin, are you making an amendment to the dollar amount, or are you adding a stipulation for which clubs and councils are eligible to have a reduction
I'm making an amendment for the dollar amount.
without stipulation on how it's applied?
For the vote, but
We were provided a list of which clubs would be impacted. but-
so I think there's an outstanding question, which is separate from the dollar amount, which is, are there clubs that we really, this notion of requirement, can you guys speak to that, please? There are certain clubs that, Alan, do you know the answer?
Well, you have certain clubs that have service requirements, but I personally see it sort of splitting hairs in terms of like some of these clubs that have limited number of students participating are as equally as important as National Honor Society clubs or otherwise. In fact, maybe even more so in some cases. But there are some service requirements for some of our clubs. But that's the question.
Okay. All right. Greg?
Just if this were to go through, Dr. Ali, how would you go through the clubs to determine which ones get cut versus not?
I would have to, that would be a very difficult thing to do, actually. I would have to look at all the clubs and see.
I think we would talk to the principal and look at enrollment and
See where we are.
may have her recommendation.
I'm just, all of the clubs that are running, they take attendance, and so they know that there's a minimum, the guidelines are 10 students. So we would find a way, but there's nothing that consistently is running with fewer than 10 kids. And some of the smaller clubs have been doing some service that's been adding a lot to the high school. I don't have my notes with me, but just the number doesn't always show the impact that they have.
Okay, Alan?
I just make the board may or may not agree with this. The staff may or may not agree with this, first part of it, but I believe we put forward a budget that's not cutting programs. This is a cut that starts to creep into cutting programs. I've tried not to cut student programs. And I think this creeps into it, but I just leave that with that perspective.
Katie?
I'm a little incredulous. I feel the need to remind the board that we are talking about $20,000. We're not talking about $200,000. We're not talking about $2 million. This is not going to move even a 1/10 of a percentage point on this budget. What it could absolutely do is remove a place where a child feels that they belong. And I cannot imagine how that is worth $20,000 to any person at this table.
Can I just make a comment? I actually do not agree that we should be cutting clubs, but I disagreed with a 20% cut or a 10% cut. So I want to make that clear, and I would like not to support this. That's probably my vote.
Okay.
I'll remove the amendment.
Well, we just
It's
have
fine.
to
We
have
voted
it
on it. It's
fail.
fine.
So we just have to have it fail. Julie?
I just want to add, I'm looking at a list of potential clubs that would be cut, which was in the packet from I think the February 6th meeting. But I look at, it's the Aerospace Club, it's Best Buddies, it's Filmmakers Club, it's the Garden Club, Gender Alliance Club. These are things that are probably not being served, interests that aren't being met in other areas. I think it'd be a huge loss to turn up $20,000, $27,000 in this budget to take these opportunities away from kids.
Okay. All right, so we have first the $20,000 on the table. Yeah. All in favor?
Wait, which are we voting on?
The 10,000. So you're decreasing it by 10,000, right?
20.
20.
So this is your amendment.
That was seconded.
We just have now to vote. So there are no votes, all opposed. That's everyone.
I'm abstaining.
Yeah, all right. Okay, now we have the 28,000. All those in favor? Brown, Sini, McCammon. All those opposed? Grambling, Best, Loveland, Maroney, Parent, Nelson. Okay.
Yes.
Well, then now we have to, yeah,
That was it.
fine.
was
It
it.
fails.
That was
It
it.
fails. We're out.
Yeah.
All right. 25003 professional development for 2950. Okay. Dave moves. Is there a second? No. Okay. RC3 101003 clubs and councils for 28,548. Is there a motion? There is no motion. Okay. RC3 310320 English teacher for 69,833. Is there a motion? Greg moves. Is there a second? Julie seconds. I'll open it for discussion.
I just want to point out to the board that if they restore those positions, if our teachers leave the district, right, or retire from the district, we still would be then taking a reduction by the contract. So it's not as if we're proposing this at the moment, but if it's not supported, we will still be taking the reduction should staff leave. So I just want to make that clear to people.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to understand that the natural attrition in the district, particularly these days, is greater than the number of these FTEs. The actual effect is likely to be small. I am comfortable with this calibration. I do think enrollment is down 10%. We have hired a consultant to help build a schedule for the coming year. There's a unique opportunity. And the schedule is meant to be done with student need from the bottom up. We're going to be looking at needing to do flexibility in the coming years. And there's an opportunity to work with a consultant to start this year. I'm feeling like if we're willing to abandon it here, we should be willing to abandon it in all of our schools. All of our kids are COVID kids. We did hear a little bit earlier that no one has stepped up and said that they're in support of this. I actually think that's inaccurate. I was at the middle school parent session. I wouldn't say that was the majority view, but there absolutely were parents who spoke up and said that they have experienced a different team model, or that did understand that matching enrollment to the number of teachers is appropriate. So anyone else? Julie?
Thank you. I think I've made no secret of my concern about what this does to the team model. I appreciate that at the elementary school, we have a more flexible model in place, and it makes it easier to reduce sections and, when appropriate, teaching FTEs to adjust to enrollment. That's not the case at the middle school. The team model is something that we have invested in and committed to for, I think, decades. We have talked about its benefits. Excuse me, sorry, I lost my place. We sell it on our website. We sell it to families. It's a way to make the school feel smaller. It's a way to make the kids feel like they have a home. It's a way to help the teachers best meet the needs of those students and get to know them. And in 6 weeks of discussion, I have not gotten any great confidence that we can protect what's important about the team model and make these changes. And so I can't support it at this time. I am absolutely committed to working further and looking for other ways to find efficiencies moving forward. Unfortunately, we're just not there yet right now. And as Sarah pointed out earlier, we are not out of policy. We are compliant. There is no guarantee in anything we've seen so far that would guarantee compliance within policy in every section of every class at the middle school if we moved forward. In fact, some of the ideas we've been shown really would suggest that that wouldn't be doable at all if we're going to have mini teams and macro teams and so on and so forth. So anyway, it's a long run-on sentence to say that I can't support this at this time.
I think just a couple of points of clarification. We don't use average class size to determine whether or not we're meeting class size. We use actual class size. I think that's important to understand. And I don't believe anything on the table has been in violation of the class size, though I think there certainly are different models. Greg.
Yeah, so I struggle with a few things that have been said, and I'll reiterate some of those. One is what Julie just mentioned in terms of, for this, we're at 19.1 of enrollment. And within 3 years, based on the medium projections for enrollment, we'd be at over 20. So it's well within the 18 to 24 boundary. I look at our literacy scores going down over the past few years, and I'm thinking about reducing class sizes for English. That scares me, in particular, given we've got the COVID kids coming through the pipeline very shortly after this, and a lot more of them than there are currently today. And then the last thing I would say is that with respect to looking at taking away student-facing teachers, at the same time that we're not reducing non-student facing administration, doesn't make sense to me.
I appreciate a lot of your points. I just want to be careful. All of our kids who are there now are COVID kids. There's not an increasing number of kids who've been through COVID. Do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, I would clarify that as there's a number of kids who actually learned to read.
Okay.
At the beginning stages during COVID, they're now in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
Got it. Thank you. Dave.
I'll just echo everything that has been said so far, and further, from the get-go, this budget is presented was very unsatisfactory, and I think really tone deaf to the expectations of the parents in this community, and so I can't support this.
Okay. And I will just, to your point about attrition, there's a very different, to me, the optics of a Board of Education cutting student-facing people. It's not okay with me at all. That's why I'm not doing this.
We do it every year for elementary. I understand it's different for
It is a
teen.
very different equation at elementary.
I think the team model is different, but I don't think the actual.
It is much,
staff movement
the
is different.
team model muddles the water.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that is why I cannot support this.
Yes, John.
But it was just asking for clarification. I think you get, because the team model you think is very different.
It
that
is absolutely
we shouldn't be
different.
matching enrollment.
We are matching enrollment. We are within guideline.
Got it.
Okay.
But it's okay if we get there through attrition.
I do not, as a Board of Education, I do not think at this point in time where we are with our current temper and climate, the Board of Education should not be cutting student-facing positions.
Julie.
I would just add to the attrition point that I do think it's different if we realize efficiencies through attrition. I think perhaps we also get to figure things out on a slightly less sudden scale than cutting an entire team at once. I think we've unfortunately not realized attrition over recent years, and that's brought us to this point. But I think we still have a fair amount of work to do to figure out how we're going to make it work with fewer teachers. And as we have more teachers coming on and they can take on those 5th classes, which I believe was also supposed to happen through attrition. That was not a contractual obligation that all the middle school teachers were then supposed to teach.
Contractual. It's contractual.
Not instantly, not the ones present who had been teaching for. I'm saying when we hire new teachers, there is Okay.
Can we get clarification? Because there's a little muddle. So-
Wait, I'm not sure I understood the.
Exactly. Thank you.
So the contractual obligation to teach 5 classes versus 4 classes, when that was baked into the contract, did that retroactively impact existing teachers who were teaching 4 classes?
It would if someone left.
Okay.
Then the remaining teachers could teach 5.
Okay, so it has to, again, through attrition, it has to be as people leave. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Katie? There's another point that I think that the public needs to understand, and that is how differently things are enacted when someone leaves through attrition. And to be clear, that is when someone resigns or retires and then their position is not replaced. So what happens then is that the district is able to look at what their numbers are and make a shift. What happens when it's cut in a budget is that someone has to be let go. And the way that works is it's the last person in. So the last person in is the first person out. And anybody that has had a child in this district is probably aware that we have gaping holes of staff in the middle of the year. We have times where teachers are covering other teachers, and we are begging to hire an 8th grade algebra teacher in November, in December. And guess what? That person that put their career on the line and came over to make a home in Darien because we value education in Darien is now going to be the first one out. So please tell me how that supports recruitment and retention.
Marge, can you talk about how it actually works, please?
So our biggest problem with filling teacher vacancies is when teachers leave in the middle of the year or the beginning, September, October. We are fully staffed for those teachers who left during the summer. So that's really, it does work. The ones that came in last are the first ones to go, although the administration does have some flexibility among non-tenured teachers. But the problems with recruiting are when teachers leave in September and October and November.
But if we have teachers who leave in the summer, because we've had
fully staffed.
We've had very high turnover rates, right? So if we keep at a current rate of turnover, or even our normal rate of turnover, what's our expected approximate attrition?
Well, last year we hired 70 people. They weren't all teachers, they were administrators. But again, we filled all of those positions. In August, we were full, and then some more people left.
Thank you. Robin?
In the budget book, I thought that I had read that the administration said that most of this could be accomplished through natural attrition. So is that in fact the case? Do we not have to actually make a cut? And could we just rely on natural attrition and then not fill the position?
That's likely what would happen if the cut fails.
Say that again, please.
So if the cut fails, that's likely what would happen.
And essentially, if I may play that out, then we're going to have a surplus based on those positions.
Correct.
So just note down the line as our town reviews this, that we will, over what time frame do you expect to meet the proposed numbers through attrition? Would it be through?
So the problem traditionally in Darien has been that people resign later rather than earlier. So we get a lot in the late spring and summer. So after the budget process. for the
Yeah,
most
so
part.
we'll be carrying excess capacity in the school budget. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Lublin, Parent. All those opposed? Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Nelson. Okay. RC 3310330, math teacher, increase of 85,785. Greg moves. Is there a second? Dave seconds. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Lublin, Parent. All those opposed? Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Nelson. Okay. RC 3310338, science teacher, 55,326. Grambling moves. Is there a second? Julie seconds, or Best seconds. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Loveland, Parent. Motion also passes. Okay. RC3, 310342, Social Studies teacher, 67,032. Grambling moves, Brown seconds. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Loveland, Parent. All those opposed? Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Nelson. Okay, RC3, 310324, foreign language teacher, 66,861. Is there a motion? Best moves. Is there a second? Brown seconds. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Loveland, Parent. All those opposed? Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Nelson. RC3, 310332, music teacher, 53,692. Best moves. Is there a second? Loveland seconds. I'll open it for discussion. Julie?
I think we've had a lot of discussion around this area. I have concerns about chipping away at what's available to our students in the arts, and recognizing that the programs in our music department aren't always run on the schedule that we look at when we do the math on how the FTEs work. And I think that's a huge part of the success and the robustness of our program. So I think it would be really unfortunate to do harm there.
Do you have a question, Jen?
They're no, they're all yeses.
Anyone else? Right, all those in favor? Best, Loveland? Here. All those opposed? Grambling, Brown, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Nelson. RC3, 31.
Point of order. Can we just ask for where we are now for total budget?
6.02.
Thank you.
Okay, RC 310320, English teacher. Reduction of $71,453. Do I have a motion?
No.
Okay, no motion.
Oh, sorry.
RC3, 310330, math teacher, $75,807. Do I have a motion? No motion. RC elementary, 21605, teacher aides, an increase of $434,850. Do I have a motion? Brown moves. Do I have a second? Loveland seconds. I'll open it for discussion. Katie?
Thank you. I just want to point out, I want to point out the cost value analysis on this position. We've talked in the past about how incredibly hardworking this position is. Like all of our student facing positions, like everyone in the district, I appreciate them all. For the value that we are getting for the line item cost on this budget, like cannot be replicated for the impact that it has to students in the classroom, for the impact that it has to the lead classroom teachers in the room, for the impact that it has on the culture of the school. There's no other way that we can realize value at this low of a cost.
All those in favor? Best, Brown, Loveland. All those opposed? Grambling, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay. Elementary 21603, teacher aides.
That failed, right?
That one
No,
failed.
this is
This is a different one.
5 of them.
Yeah, this is mine.
That's Sarah
I'll
moves.
motion this.
Brown seconds. I'll open it for discussion.
I put this on, I mean, I actually echo what Katie just said. And I think it would be an irresponsible elementary school teacher if I did not support putting aides into teacher classrooms, especially at the early elementary level. This is my intent of putting the 5 back versus all of them. That this to me when Alan said that he was moving them K1, this extends that to K1 too, which I think are the, you could make an argument that those are the quote unquote neediest, need the most help in terms of just having an extra pair of hands in the classroom. So that's my intent of adding one per school. So it's a K1 too.
Okay. All those in favor? That is Best, Brown, Lublin, McCammon, Parent. That passes. Okay.
Opposed?
Opposed. Grambling, Grambling, Maroney, Sini, Nelson.
Pass, right?
Yeah, that passed. Okay.
That was a 5.
Yep.
Yeah. 92118 building substitute. Reduce one building substitute. Dennis moves. Is there a second? Sini seconds. I'll open it for discussion.
Dennis, your intent of this was because Royal was smaller, that you felt that one building substitute was sufficient, correct?
Exactly. And that they can all move between other buildings as well. So there's no reason to have two persons.
Marge, can you speak to the staffing of that? And if that's in actuality, if that works?
The Royal buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, if you kept it at Royal and Royal didn't need it, it would get moved. They're up at 5 a.m, moving staff around.
Robin?
I think we currently have 2 open building sub positions. Isn't that correct?
So what happens to building subs is right now, a couple of the building subs are covering for teacher leaves. And so we try to replace them on an interim basis. That's not as easy. But having the building subs in the building gives us somebody with a college degree who can replace a teacher.
So they would be easier to hire, I'm saying. If
It's
we
easier
have
to
the-
find a replacement these days for leaves, yeah.
All right. All those in favor? Okay. That is Grambling, Best, Lublin, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson.
Is anybody opposed?
All those opposed?
No. Sorry, that's who was missing, sorry.
Okay, elementary, 21314 art teacher. An increase of 62,054. Is there Katie, is there a motion? Katie moves. Is there a second? Julie seconds. I'll open it for discussion.
I'll just quickly say that we've heard a lot of public comment on this, as well as other things, specifically about the specials and the way that this town values them. I hate to see a restriction here. Look, I have kids across all the grade levels, and the perspectives are different. And what I hear the most is how much the middle school kids miss art and how once a quarter isn't enough. I can't imagine taking away any of their experience at the elementary.
Julie?
I can't imagine the culture hit to not having a dedicated art teacher for elementary school. Whether it's, helping with the bulletin boards, show off the kids' work, being there for someone to come and finish a project. To have days where the art studio in your school is dark because your itinerant teacher is somewhere else just is not elementary school to me. It just doesn't make sense.
I appreciate that point. I will be voting in favor of this, mostly because I want to try to provide as much of the same program that we're providing now as efficiently as possible so that we can meet as broad a spectrum of needs as we can. Robin?
I also want to add that just the prep and cleanup needs, especially for more complex kind of projects, I think is important. And that was not factored into the analysis. So I also support this because I don't want to take away programs from the kids.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? That is Grambling, Best, Lublin, Maroney, Brown. Me. No, I said I'm a no. I'm
you're
a
a no.
parent.
Yeah, you said
and
you're
Nelson.
voting in favor
I'm
of
voting against or whatever. I'm not restoring.
You're not restoring
because
this.
I'm looking for efficiency.
So what's the vote?
So that is 7-2.
I'm against it.
All those opposed, John and Jill. Senior McCammon. Okay, 21301 PE teacher. $22,130. Katie, are you moving? Have a second? Julie? All right, all those in favor? Do you want, unless you want to talk about it, but Greg, did you want to talk about it?
Point four.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
My comments, I echo the same thing on music that I do about art. I think we have a robust program and it's a source of pride. I do not want to see it be diminished. Additionally, I would add that the scheduling of music classes, anybody who's been paying attention has probably learned.
I think
that-
we're on.
This is PE.
What are we on?
This is PE.
PE.
Where did it go? We're at the very bottom.
of the page.
All right, I'll just shift. I just want to remind the board then about the emails that were received and the comments that we've received about adaptive PE specifically, and how truly important that component is to specials so that all children can participate in a mandatory component of their education.
Shirley, does this reduce adaptive PE?
No, it does not,
Okay.
in any of the buildings.
All right.
Sorry, with all due respect, I do just want to make it clear that my point was to remind the board of the email that we received.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Okay. Grambling, Best, Loveland, Maroney. Okay, all those opposed? Brown, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson.
So fail.
Motion fails. Music teachers, 21313. $130,000, 346. Katie moves. Do I have a second? Robin seconds. Okay. I'll open it for discussion. Katie on music.
Thank you. So to continue, a little pause. I think that we've learned that music in particular is extra complicated to schedule in terms of the specials. And that's for a reason, because we have a robust program and we offer students choice so that they can find their passion and that they can develop their talent. What I also learned through this process is that the numbers given in the consultant were built upon faulty information. So I don't like this for any of the reasons, but I'm especially wary of these numbers. We've heard again and again and again how important this is to our community. And we've heard multiple times from music teachers as well that this just is not going to work.
Just the national number, just for correction, then some of the national numbers, there were modifications to, and the consultant ended up with the correct numbers that were verified by the department chair.
Robin.
I want to comment. I mean, first, I played violin from 6th through 12th grade. Music was a big part of my life, and I value that experience. I also know how difficult it is going through that to learn that instrument, especially at an elementary level. And I think that given the analysis, and I did look at it very closely, the teachers currently are very close to at capacity. And I'm concerned that even though it could potentially work, I'm worried about the extra before and after school rehearsals, the sizes of the groups, and how that could impact it, because it's more complex, because it's strings, it's band, it's chorus, and the allocations between all of the different schools, I think adds additional complexity with travel time. So I support adding this back.
Julie.
Thanks. I'll just add again that I will support this. I'm concerned about the feasibility of maintaining the program if we lose these resources. I'm also concerned about the message it sends that we will cut the arts and we won't cut other things. So I think it's important that we continue to fund our programs.
So I am also going to support this cut, but again, with the caveat that as I feel with art and with other specials, I do think these are critical pieces of the elementary school day. I am willing to move forward with the idea that there is capacity there and that we can maintain the same program. If we cannot, I think it's very critical that the board hear about it immediately. But the research at this point shows capacity. All those in favor? Greg, Julie, Katie, Dave, Robin, Sarah.
Dennis, not Dave.
Dennis. Oh, excuse me. Dennis, not Dave. Thank you. All those opposed? All those opposed?
Not opposed.
Yeah, Dave, John, Jill. All right, participation.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Is it possible to move the next two items to the last two items?
The participation fees?
Yes. For me, it's going to come, this is a big revenue generating point, and to me, it's going to come down to, my vote will be whether or not where our budget number is.
So we do have people working to a number.
I'm not working to a number, it's just.
That's the case.
All right, we can leave it where it is, but go ahead.
I agree that that's challenging, but I came in here prepared to deal with the challenges of the order of this
That's fair,
document. so-
that's fine, then we do it that way.
Do I have a motion for 11 new account participation fees, 300,000, sorry, I cannot speak at this point, $326,600. Steenie moves. Second? There's no second. RC 11, new account participation fees, $972,864. Do I have a motion? There is no motion. RC 11, 102013 gate receipts, increasing by 17,500. Turkey Bowl tickets to $15. Robin moves. Do I have a second? Dennis. Okay, any discussion? Yes, Katie.
Thank you. Rich, can you just remind us again the starting point?
$10.
All those in favor? Turkey Bowl tickets, increasing the price to 15. Grambling, Best, Lublin, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, and Nelson. RC 11, 102001 interscholastics, a reduction by 100,000 or 99,260.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Katie? All right, open it for discussion.
So in the past number of years, we've been at 236, 298, 318, 250. This year we have budgeted 260 and we're going up to 381. I think we can manage to go back to the roughly 281.
Okay.
And I
Anyone
will,
else?
I just will reiterate my point that I said earlier in this process that a lot of academic and core things are being touched here. I think athletics continues to grow and they need to feel a hit a little bit too.
Okay, all those, oh, sorry, Katie, go ahead.
I just would like a bit of clarification regarding the next proposal. Rich, if you could speak a little bit about how this one has, I understand the difference between the dollar amount and the percentage. What I'm asking about is the breakout. The next one talks, like it specifically cuts intramurals, and my recollection was that that was not proposed by the, is there a problem? My recollection that was not specific to the proposal of the board member. So my question for you about the one that we are on is, would that potentially cut intramurals? How is it different?
So the one that you're on is only cutting uniforms. So you would not be following the uniform replacement cycle, and those uniforms would then have to go in your fiscal year 26 budget, and you would have to hope the uniforms make it another year. The one below it is a 10% reduction to the total athletic budget. So there's only so many ways you can make that happen, which is why intramurals is on the list.
So, okay, so thank you. So the current proposal is essentially just delaying a uniform replacement. Thank you.
All those in, yeah, Julie?
Sorry, one more question. And is that because there was no other place to find any dollars for that in that line item?
So unless you're cutting staff, there is no. So
Okay.
the buses cost what the buses cost. So unless you're cutting a team, you can't cut the bus line item. And unless the only other alternative is to further reduce supervision at games.
Okay.
Other than that, you have no other option.
Okay.
All those in favor? That is Grambling, Best, Lublin, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay.
Opposed. Opposed.
All those opposed? Brown?
You're abstaining?
Abstaining. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Okay, RC 11-101008, intramurals, 10,329. Is there a motion? Yes, Dave. So you want to move all of them?
So I would just say that the 102 that's in that block is really encompassed by the 99 that you just cut.
Yeah.
So if you were to take the block, it's really intramurals plus the official.
Yeah, I'm not moving for,
I don't think
This-
she's moving it.
yeah, I didn't want to go line by line. If there was-
Okay, well, if it's not moved, we don't have to worry
So
about it.
you're not moving, you're not making the motion for this? Okay.
Okay, all right. RC 12-62003, snow removal. Is there a Best? A second? What's his name? Maroney. Any discussion? Julie?
I'll chime in. You knew I was going to. So I know this is the tuba of the last two budgets. But just to be clear, we did have some discussion. There was a moment where the snow blower at Ox Ridge had been put on the cut list. We did pull it. Rich explained to us how much time and how many man hours it takes to clear the snow at Ox, and having that snow blower will make a huge difference there. Ox being the most expensive with the most.
Sold.
Pardon?
Sold.
It's pulled, I know.
Sold.
Oh, okay. It didn't go through last year, so I feel like I gotta give it the real full effort. Which my last 2 points were, I'm not saying it will never snow, but I don't think we need to budget 12 times what we spent last year or more than $20,000 more than we've spent since 2020, 2021. Thank you, I'm done.
Okay. Did you have a comment?
I have a question. Where are we this year?
So
Yeah.
excluding the last snowstorm, you're at about $19,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? That's unanimous. RC 12-102008, building rentals. Increasing by 7,812. Robin moves. Is there a second? Dennis seconds. Is there a discussion? All those in favor?
Wait, which one was this?
Just the same clarifying question.
Auditorium.
Can we just talk about, can you just remind us the current?
I believe it's 160, so it is a significant increase.
Yes,
So
Robin.
can I proposed the $600 fee to be in line with Westport, what they charge, and actually Greenwich charges more than that. In addition, all of the renovations and the new LED wall that will be going into the auditorium are a lot of things that other districts around our area do not even have. So I thought that this was appropriate.
Thank you. Yes, Katie.
Thank you. One more follow-up question. I understand that Westport has a significantly higher enrollment than we do. Rich, do you know if their auditorium also has greater capacity?
I do not know. I know they have about 1,000 more students than us, but I don't know the capacity of.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Barone, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson.
Opposed?
Opposed. Loveland, abstaining, Brown. RC 12-102008, building rentals, 10% increase in building rentals of 2,240. Do you move? Robin moves. Is there a second? Maroney seconds. Any discussion? Yes, Robin.
I want to reiterate, I proposed increasing building rentals 10% to be commensurate with the increases in custodial and janitorial fees and also refuse collection.
Thank you. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Loveland, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. All those opposed? Abstaining is Brown. 12-102009 field rentals, increasing by 23,800. Yes, Robin. She moves. Is there a second? Maroney, discussion.
Again, I increased this, but for similar reasons, just the additional costs that we are incurring, to have the help to cover all the costs.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Loveland, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. All those opposed? Abstaining is Brown.
Passes.
Passes, yes. RC 12-73-001, equipment and furniture, moving the DHS furniture from capital to operating. This is recommended to us by our financial partners. I'll move it.
Second.
Dennis is a second. Any discussion?
Can we just remind why it is that was suggested?
Because most of our other furniture purchases exist in our operating budget. We don't usually put them in capital. This is different.
Why was it put in capital in the first place?
So the majority of districts in Fairfield County replace large-scale purchases of furniture in capital.
All those in favor? Best, Brown, Sini, McCammon, Nelson, and Grambling. All those opposed? Loveland, Maroney, Parent.
Passes.
Motion passes. Okay, this 16 we've already done. We eliminated the scheduling consultant, so there's no motion there. 16-1201 consultant services for 10,500. Is there a motion? 16-12,001 consultant services for 3,000. Is there a motion? No. 16-12004 legal fees, 20% reduction of 34,000. Mr. Brown moves. Mr. Sini seconds. Is there a discussion? Julie?
Just, it would be helpful to get a reminder on the rationale for this. I think part of it was that we don't have big contracts to negotiate this coming year or in this fiscal year that we're talking about. Is there anything else worth considering that I'm forgetting?
So we did make a reduction already to the budget for the fact that we don't have non-certified negotiations. Shipman's rates are not staying flat, though. They're going up about 5%. So it's likely if this is taken, it will be a reduction on paper that won't materialize.
Where do we stand this year, Rich?
We are trending towards the high end of our budget range.
Okay.
All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Sini. Loveland, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent,
Yeah.
Nelson. That's unanimous. Passes. Okay, 16-25026 dues and memberships for 17,800 to eliminate CABE. Brown moves. Is there a second? There's no second. 16-25026 dues and memberships, 5,200. That one cannot be moved. It's contractual. Okay, 19-25003 professional development, 145,390. Is there a motion? There is not. 19-21312 curriculum development, elimination of 154,025. There's no motion. 19-21201 director of mental health. Is there a motion?
I think there's.
You missed one.
All right, sorry.
25-2026, right?
Okay, yep. 19-25226, 8,707. Is there a motion? There is not. 19-21201 director of mental health, reduction of 162,000. Is there a motion? There is not. 19-21201 director of elementary education, 211405. Is there a motion? There is a motion. Is there a second? There is not. 19-25003 professional development, a 10% reduction of 14,539. Julie moves. Is there a second? Dave seconds. I'll open it for discussion.
What does this actually mean, Amy?
Sorry. The board did ask for a list of what would be my recommendation considering a 10% reduction. And what I did was select from different areas, just partial reductions so that we could still move forward with all of the initiatives as planned. We just wouldn't be able to do them exactly the same way they've historically been done. So for example, restorative practices, which Mrs. Best had asked about, that would still happen. It's something that we're obligated to do per the recent legislation, but we would not proceed in the same manner as previous administration had brought in consultants for that.
Okay, all those in favor? Sorry, go ahead, Katie.
Amy, would this also, do you see that this would reduce the pullout time that teachers are experiencing from their classroom?
No, a 10% reduction is not necessarily going to reduce the pullout time. Most of the professional learning that happens is happening outside of the contractual school day anyway.
So we hear that teachers are being pulled out for professional development quite a bit, and you know they have to have substitutes and there's coverage. And so what would help address that issue?
Well, many districts in our area have scheduled early release days or late arrival days, and that would be a significant support for professional learning.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Grambling, Best, Brown, Loveland, it's unanimous. Oh, no, not parent. Okay. All those opposed? Parent. Motion passes. Okay, 21-23005 online subscriptions, an increase of Dave moves $2,405. A second. There, Loveland. I'll open it for discussion.
Can we just have a little bit of color on the way that this is worded is that it's a restoration of subscriptions. So can we have a little color as to what was cut and why?
What was cut was funds that were not being used.
So that came directly from the staff?
Correct.
That said we no longer need this?
Correct.
And I'm sorry, I just.
Sorry, Charlie.
Talk over. So Rich, I just wanted to check then. So this isn't that the whole line item was eliminated. It was a portion that was eliminated.
Correct. It was just
Okay,
a portion.
thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Brown. All those opposed? Grambling, Best, Loveland, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. 26-143-003 ELP tuition. Increasing, well, can we do this one since we already changed it to a 4 or 5 day?
So this defaults to a no because you already voted for the other.
27-21602 campus monitor, restoring one at 38,855. Dave moves. Is there a second? Katie seconds. I'll open it for discussion. All those in favor? Brown, Loveland. All those opposed? Grambling, Best, Maroney, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Okay. Need to look at the capital. Do
We have to pass the operating budget first, right?
you want to make the adjustments off the?
Sorry, just.
So
I just wanted to make one comment before we moved away from it, but with the ELP, because these are spaced so far apart and that wasn't part of the discussion, like it, for the future, it would be helpful to say that there are competing things that would negate them. Like, I just don't feel like we had the same discussion that like I would have liked to have if we were taking, if we,
Together.
yes.
Okay. Point taken.
So the total changes from the superintendent's proposed budget is $6,684, which leaves a budget of $121,522,322, or 6.18%.
In clarification, what is going to be the special appropriation request for the buses?
$850,000.
121, 522, 322?
6.18.
All right. I'm gonna go line by line just to adjust the capital budget and then we'll vote on operating and non-capital. Okay. A motion to reduce the BOE windows by 51,500. Do I have? No.
I'll move it.
Okay. Do I have a second? Dave? All right. Does anybody want to talk about it?
It's just a delay of the capital replacement of the windows. It can go another year, right? We were told. Okay.
All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous.
EHS furniture.
Just furniture, we've already moved. And the 7th Suburban and the wheelchair van, we've already moved or no? In the earlier? No.
So assuming you
No.
go for the appropriation.
Yeah, but we have to actually move.
So do we have to move these?
So we have to actually vote to take these out of the capital budget.
Mhm.
Okay. So to reduce the 7th Suburban by 62,000, I'll move. Do I have a second? Julie seconds. All those in favor? That's unanimous. And then the wheelchair van for 88,000, taking out of the capital budget so we can seek a special appropriation. I'll move. Do I have a second? Greg seconds. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, what is the operating budget? Excuse me, what's capital budget?
So 351,500 was removed. So the capital budget's 1,474,900.
Okay. We have a motion to approve our operating budget of $121,522,322, representing a 6.18% increase for the 2024-2025 school year.
Can you just repeat the number again, please? Sorry.
Yes, an operating budget of 121,000.
Million.
121 million.
Okay, Rich, what is the number?
121,522,322.
Representing a 6.18%. I'll move it. Do we have a second? Dennis, all those in favor? Greg, okay, so that's Best, Brown, Loveland, Nardi, Sini, McCammon, Parent, Nelson. Just to be clear, if it doesn't, if were it to not pass, it would revert to this current year's budget. Okay, all those opposed? Abstaining? Greg? May I have a motion to approve a capital budget of $1,474,900? I'll move it. Do I have a second? That's Julie. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you all. Discussion and possible action to request a capital appropriation from the Board of Finance in the amount of $850,000 to fund 9 student transportation vehicles. Dr. Bradley and Rich.
So this addresses what we just discussed in terms of providing the transportation for special education. And that's the 800,000 appropriation.
Okay, are there any questions? So Rich, would you just walk us through the process one more time, please?
So since the board voted to take the operating reduction, we will need these 9 vehicles to actually be able to implement it. So the Board of Ed will have to request a special capital appropriation for $850,000. Assuming the Board of Ed votes to approve it, it would go to the Board of Finance for consideration. And then if the Board of Finance approves it, it would then go to the RTM for consideration and approval.
Okay, so the plan would be that we will, on March 5th, bring forward the Board of Ed operating capital budgets, this request for an appropriation.
The operating debt.
Operating capital and
Yeah.
this request for a special appropriation.
But
Go ahead.
I'm just clarifying, but not the deficit for the current.
Correct, just this appropriation. Correct.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? All right. May I have a motion to approve the request of a capital appropriation in the amount of $850,000 to fund 9 student transportation vehicles? I'll move it. Do I have a second? Maroney, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Okay. Discussion and possible action on proposed revisions to Board of Education policies 4430, sudden cardiac arrest awareness for intramural and scholastic athletics. 5275, policy regarding Title IX of Education Amendments of 1972, prohibition of sex discrimination and sexual harassment of students. 5300, student use of the district's computer systems and internet safety. 9120, transaction of business. 9130, oath of office. 9150, qualifications of board members, and 9170, removal of board members. March.
So most of the recommendations for changes to the policies are because of changes in the law or shipment updates. The thing that I think the board needs to take a look at is 9150 qualification of board members. The recommendation of the administration and the attorneys was to remove paragraph 2, but there were members of the policy committee who felt like it was a good statement to make. I did check with Jessica Smith of Shipman and Goodman. There's no problem having it in there. It's just not something that Shipman's a little more concrete.
I'll speak on that one. Given that we do sometimes have to fill a vacancy, I think it's nice to have some language that gives us a structure for what to consider. It's not enforceable. I agree. John?
Yeah, I mean, it was very subjective and my kind of takeaway, I think, if I remember correctly from the committee meeting, it was too much fluff and not enough meat, but I'm not sure where we kind of had divided consensus, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we wanted to bring it forward for the full board to have an opportunity to weigh in on it for sure. My feeling on it was it's kind of like material or language we might use to try to recruit someone to come if we're looking to fill a position on the board. Marketing materials more so than necessarily policy language. It would be hard to enforce and potentially could present an awkward opportunity to say that someone is not compliant with policy if they aren't, or I guess you could accuse someone of not embodying those characteristics. But again, it is nice language. I understand the spirit of it. So just think does that represent the points of view?
I think so.
Pretty good,
Fairly
yeah.
enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's aspirational, but not necessarily enforceable.
So when it comes back to the board for a second reading, board members need to decide whether or not they are interested in having language like this in the policy. Again, understanding it's not enforceable and it is more aspirational. But there are times when we do, not often, but do make selections. Okay. I would recommend that 9170 go back to policy committee because it refers to disciplinary action. And I think you're looking at disciplinary action and related policies. You just need to find what that is. We don't really have a lot of disciplinary action that we can do.
Right, other than, can't come up with the word now. I can't.
Censure.
Thank you. That's
Censure.
the word, censure. Okay. That's fine. We can take another look at that.
Okay. Right. Any other questions on this? Okay, this is the first read. It'll come back to the board again for approval, with the exception of 9170, which will go back to committee.
Wait, maybe I'm a little confused. I thought we rejected the censure of board members, but we moved forward this for review in 9170. So I'm sorry, what's your question?
We were talking, there are a couple of policies clustered together.
Right.
That refer to disciplinary action, and there's another one that talks about disciplinary action that you kept, so you can figure out what that means. I think it was
To consider them together, is
Yes.
what you're saying, in
Yes.
conjunction.
Okay, we can talk about it more. I'm
I don't know
still
what
confused.
disciplinary
but-
action is.
Yeah, I'm happy to take another look at it and we can talk about it.
Sure.
I'm gonna blame the late hour.
Yeah.
It's not
That's why I'm
totally at the
confused
tip of
too.
my tongue right now.
It's all good.
Definitely don't want to talk about discipline. Okay. All right, any other discussion on policy? Okay, further discussion and possible action on board master agenda for February 2024 through August 2024. Alan?
So the updates have been noted. We address ELP 504, special education, vision of the graduate, either directly or indirectly here, or it's not in this time period. Anonymous alerts will be at the next board meeting. The strategic plan on the 13th. Added down on April, discussion possible action on increasing educator diversity plan. May 14th was update on bullying legislation and restorative justice practices. They were added. Discussion of 504 practices and procedures. Not on this, but I think should be on it, is May 28th, only because May 14th is heavy, is instructional technology. We said we would come back with instructional technology. That will include discussion around cell phone use and screen time. So we said we would come back and do that. So that would be on May 28th. And I think those are the major changes or revisions from the last time.
You asked Greg about Vision of a Graduate. There is a presentation. It's part of the strategic plan update. So following that, if there is something specific, let's get through that. Following that, if there's something more specific you want to pull out or you want a broader update, there's an opportunity to raise it at that time.
Okay, that sounds good. And on the other one, Dr. Elliott, you just mentioned in terms of cell phone use and screen time.
Yes.
I know that's been brought to our attention again.
Yes.
I can't remember who forwarded the email,
Yes.
but is that going to be focused on actual, I don't know if it's board policy or, district policy around cell phone utilization? And it's not just cell phones, it's device utilization in the schools. Is it going to be focused on that, or what should we expect there?
Well, specifically the cell phone is around, would be looking at policies, practices, best procedures, recommended procedures, and the screen time would be around the use of guidelines, sort of around, and we've got like, I guess if you talk about homework policies, like what's the homework policy time-wise, so on and so forth. So if there's any guidelines around the use of screen time in the actual, in school.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, my hope is that it does focus on what is the policy in the schools for whether kids can have devices,
No, it is,
phones,
yes.
et cetera.
But it'll end up like sort of talking about policy, they have to kick it back to the policy committee.
Yeah, so that was my question. Are you talking
If the
about,
board was wanting to do that, yes.
are you talking about like best practice within school? Or are you talking about the Board of Ed creating a policy around? Or are you talking about
Both, yeah,
policy? Okay.
I mean, I don't think there is a district policy at all. So
Okay.
whatever the right steps are to get to their main policy.
Dave?
The strat plan, the scope of that is just going to be current progress on existing?
The one for March, yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
But there was still an ask out for later this year.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
In fact, we have that identified. Board goals, objectives, that's June.
That's in,
Yes,
that's
that
in June.
we have
June
June
11th, June 11th.
Maybe a little late, but, okay. This is a second read, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we vote on this, and I'd say as amended with the Allen's edition in May. Okay, do I have a motion? John moves, do I have a second? Dennis seconds, all those in favor? Julie, that's unanimous? No, just checking. All right, thank you. Okay. Personnel report, Marge?
So as you can see, we filled the special education teacher at the high school. This was again, someone who left in the fall, and that's how long it's taken us. But I would like to thank the teachers who've been covering and doing overages since that time.
Thank you. Public comment. Yes, Katie.
March, I know that it says TBD. Do you have any indication of if it will happen this year?
So 30 days is the contract, but she has to give notice, and so we're just
Okay.
waiting for an exact date.
Thank you.
Public comment?
If anyone in person would like to participate, please come up to the podium. You'll have up to 3 minutes to comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
Barry Palmer, Danbury, Teachers Union President. Just want to take the opportunity to thank the board for all your hard work and administration for all your hard work through a very long 6 weeks. And I want to thank the board for the board. And it's not over, no. And I also want to thank for our votes that prioritize students and put them first tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else in person? If anyone online would like to participate, please use the raised hand icon. There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?